A powerful act indeed to set off the Schneider Electric Innovation Summit India 2018. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to welcome on stage Zone President and Managing Director, Schneider Electric India, Mr. Anil Chaudhary.
Wow. Good afternoon, everybody. Wow, I'm very thrilled to be among you today. First of all, let me welcome everybody who is present here today. Thank you for joining us on this very important World Tour of Innovation Summit in India 2018. It's a great honor and pleasure for me to welcome policymakers of Government of India and state governments, our esteemed customers, and very dependable partners to join us today. You're all very important senior leaders of your organization, and we understand how important is your time. And by joining us here today, you are contributing a very valuable time of your business, of your organization to us, and I will like to really thank you for that, for the presence which you are having here today. Innovation Summit India is part of our global initiative of Innovation Summits across the world. Last year, this tour has gone to 8 countries all across the world, where we have presented our technologies to close to 20,000 plus customers. And it's my honor and privilege to welcome this tour in India today and tomorrow for the benefits of all our stakeholders, which are you all. So thank you once again for your time. I'm glad also that this tour is coming to India when India as a country is at a place where we are transforming ourselves from a developing nation or a new economy or a country which is coming up to a country which is getting probably much more digitized today, which is really showing the world that how you can leapfrog when you adopt digital technologies. And this is happening also in this country at a time when our history has also shown that this is a country where the innovation has been at the core of our society, our civilization, which goes back when we invented zero and decimal system, which goes back when Ayurveda was the first medical science to start the plastic surgery. So these are the inheritance of this society and this country. And with this background, to bring this Innovation Summit to talk about the next technologies, which is all about IoT, Internet of Things, Industry 4.0, and digitization, it's going to really help us to go together and make the transformation of this country to be even much on a stronger foot. That is why I think when we have set the pace for this particular innovation, is powering digital economy. There are very fundamental things which are there in this particular thing. You see, digitization has been the fundamental roadmap which this country has adopted to transform itself. I think when we look at the way today, digitization, urbanization, and energy, and more specifically the electricity energy, how they are integrated, it becomes even more important that what we are going to discuss here is a very, very important step forward to take the country to the next stage. When we look at so far what has been done, I think there are very, very proud moments for this country when we talk about the world's largest biometric identity system, Aadhaar, which has been implemented in this country. 1 billion plus people have been given that identity. When we talk of fastest growing e-commerce market, rapid adoption of electronic payment system, all these are setting a very solid stage knowledge and experience in this country, which will be very useful when we're talking of digitization and IoT of the infrastructure at a larger scale. And we believe that digitization is going to play a very, very important role for this country to leapfrog in industrial revolution as well. India's urban population is increasing. By 2050, there'll be close to 400 million people will be adding into the cities. This is why the government's initiative of 24/7 power by 2018 is a very important step forward to that, to ensure the safety, reliability, availability of power, not only in urban India, but all across India, becomes the fundamental foundation for setting the transformation on this country is all about. We find ourselves having to reinvent the 21st century today. What was working earlier? We were living with power breakouts, roads with potholes, internet with the circle going around and round for long minutes and seconds for us to download even a small MB file. I think the future is not going to accept that. Future is going to be connected. Future is going to be happening today. When we look at what the world is working with all the Internet of Things, by 2030, we expect that close to 30 to 50 billion devices, and I'm not talking here only of the connected people, which probably has happened in the last decade. This is going to be the magnitude with which this transformation has to happen. And that is why I think for this country to leapfrog in this transformation of the infrastructure, of the urbanization, digitization becomes a core. And that's what we wanted to put at the center of core of discussions we are going to have for next 2 days. This is also important. Then we said that what was working in the past, because when we look at our whole energy cycle, be it is the point of production, be it is the point of consumption, be it the point where we are transforming energy to one form or other, there's a large inefficiencies in the system. And mostly when we look at buildings, infrastructure, industry, these are some of those big areas where there's a huge potential where we can add energy in this country without probably producing that much. So the emphasis is on that this IoT and digitization is going to help India also to show the world that how you can be energy efficient, energy sufficient without probably adding all those capacities which are required to be added to meet those kind of requirements. I think that's where we are setting the pace for these 2 days. I'm sure my colleagues will be sharing with you in detail how we are going to go and share with you and how we at Schneider Electric is working on those technology to help all the ecosystem of this growth to leapfrog in this journey of transformation which country has adopted. Now, Schneider Electric here in India is very much entrenched to be part of this transformation for the country. India is one of the very important country for Schneider Electric. Not in terms of the business, we do it here, the innovation, we do it here, but the innovation and the people who are working 20,000 plus, they are working in India for India and India for globe, and that's very important. We have all our factories which are based out of here, about 24 of those factories. Almost 50% of those what we produce is exported. 14,000 plus innovation and R&D engineers based out of India are working for those technology, forward-looking future technologies for India and India for globe. And more important, our partners, or many of you are here today. These are important pillars of the technology revolution which Schneider is bringing to this country. And we really thank you for the very strong support and the working which you have with Schneider Electric. Our sales offices, our presence in 130 plus countries is all testimony of the fact that we as a company are very much committed to be part of this journey of leapfrogging this country from a developing nation to a developed and a mature economy going forward. When we look at what we are doing today, our fundamental mission is touching lives in India every day. I'm sure my colleague Chris will share about what is our brand vision behind that. But when we look what we are doing in today, India, access to energy, and we have been discussing that with some of you just before this event. Very, very important, because few hundred millions of our fellow citizens still doesn't have access to energy. And Schneider Electric is providing those technology in remote areas, from microgrid to rooftop solar to renewables, to provide that access to energy. We have added about 700,000 plus households where we have provided the energy. Be it leading the power in the houses when there is no power. About 17.5 million houses in this country use technology of Schneider to power when there is no power also. When it comes to critical infrastructure, I have the honor to welcome Chairman, Managing Director of Delhi Metro. Delhi Metro is running on electrical distribution system which is controlled safely and powered safely by our technology. When we talk of the 40% of India's refining capacities, these are powered. I have customers from one of the largest, biggest refinery, Reliance, Jamnagar, being here. Thank you very much for being here. This is what we take pride in. When it comes to the power generation, 41 gigawatt, 41,000 megawatt power generated by our technologies. It comes to digital and smart India. We are the first greenfield smart city being developed in India is coming with our technology. Thank you, Mr. Aman Singh, Chairman of NRDA, being present with us today to share his story. We have the first e-commerce company in India of data centers which are propelled by our systems. We have, when we talk about green and safe India, and that's the future, that's where the sustainability comes in. 15% of India's solar capacity is added by Schneider technologies. And about City of Puri, which is known for one function, one festival which happened every 12 years, where in a city which is normally have a population of about 1 million, there are about 4 to 5 million people come to that city in a 3-4 days time. Our technologies help the administration there to manage that flow without any incident. So these are some of those important aspects which we provide and touch, and we are very proud, thanks to all your support, to be associated with all these very prestigious initiatives and projects. More importantly, the social inclusion is a very, very fundamental to us as a company. In addition to that, we have our own ecosystem, our own direct employees. Today, Schneider is very conscious of the fact that how we create an ecosystem where we can create more and more jobs. And we take pride in saying that today, in our ecosystem, close to about 150,000 people are directly or indirectly employed in our ecosystem. And most importantly, to create jobs in hinterland, we are training youth from those areas into electrical trade, and then they become part of our ecosystem. And more than that, about 2,270 training centers. These are running all across the country to train these people where they can be self-standing and bring a positive change into the society as well. So we're very proud of that, and thanks to your support, your contribution, and your trust and confidence in this, that we are able to make India feel our technologies every day. So thank you. This is for all you partners, my customers, my stakeholders, everybody for that value addition. When it comes to, going with the government initiative, we all are very importantly looking at some of those initiatives the government has done. When we look at Make in India, today, as I said, that we have 24 factories. India is one of the top countries for Schneider Electric, and almost 50% of that, what we produce here, is exported to more than 30 countries worldwide, including some of the large economies and developed countries. And when we talk about smart cities, it is one of the very specific offer which we have for smart cities, where we provide solutions all integrated into the domain of energy, mobility, water, public services, buildings, and integration of all these, with close to about 200 plus global references. when it comes to Startup India, while globally we have a venture capitalist fund within Schneider where we support the startups, but in India also we are supporting 4 startups which are working with us to develop the latest and next generation technologies. And of course, our solar-powered pumping stations, water pumps, they are deployed for our Swachh Bharat mission, and also the off-grid and microgrid solar applications are being done. So all this is happening, and this is where we are taking a bold pledge that when we talk of Next India, we want to be part of that transformation in India. We all know India has taken a bold pledge as a country to be 5 trillion plus economy by 2025. We're very proud to be associated with that, and to work with that bold pledge, we have taken a bold pledge to make New India energy positive. So with this, ladies and gentlemen, thank you once again for being here today with us, and we are really honored and proud to have you with us today. I'm sure that these 2 days, it's not that it's a one-way communication. We would like to have your bold ideas when you visit our innovation hub in the next hotel, which is connected from this. Please share your bold ideas, and we will be very happy to take those bold ideas into our innovation and solutions, services and product roadmap for the future to work and make this country leapfrog on all fronts. So thank you once again. And with this, I would like to invite my colleagues from Global XCOM, Chris Leong, our Chief Marketing Officer, Luc Remo, our Chief of International Operations, to come and share their views on Schneider Electric India's commitment for innovation and digitization. Chris and Luc, over to you, please.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Anil.
Thank you, Anil.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. How are we doing? Namaste.
Namaste.
So, thank you, Anil. And wow, it's really exciting. Luc and I have the privilege for the next 20 minutes or so to elaborate upon what Anil have just kicked off. And I love that bold patch. We want to make India net positive energy country. Well done. Amazing. So how exciting is it to be in India today? How is everyone doing? You holding up? Right after lunch? You're staying with me? So that's good. I'm excited to be in India because it's one of the few places where I believe the nation has got a very bold ambition. Last year, you declare you want to have access to energy to all the population in India by the end of this year. That's a bold pledge. If I understood correctly, you still have about 300 million people that have no access, another 300 million with intermittent, and you say, by end of 2018, we want everybody to have at least access to energy. That's a bold pledge, because that is simple. With energy, we can go places. But let's first set the stage. Let's start with the next 20 years. The next 20 years is quite amazing, because Anil spoke about urbanization in India. That goes right across the board. The urbanization rate is unprecedented in our living history. In India alone, you're talking about more than 200 million people going to be urbanized. What does this mean? Let's start with an easy example. Now, ladies and gentlemen, in about 1 month's time, you have a very important event that's going to happen in India. Any guess on what this event is in 1 month's time in India? Anybody? IPL? Anybody? Anybody watching cricket? So the IPL, which I think is a big deal in India. So we're talking about IPL. Everybody enjoys cricket. But let's translate it to what this means to energy. You're talking about floodlight beaming in 9 stadiums for 2 months across India. Any guess on how much energy is consumed during that time and how much CO2 is emitted in a day-night match during IPL? Well, we're talking about the impact of one single match is 700 tons of CO2, which equals to about 850,000 of kilowatt of energy. And just to put in perspective, that can light up 500 homes in a year. So that's huge. So how do we solve this paradox? Because we have to watch cricket, don't we? So that's important. But we also want energy access to the homes. So we did something, for example, talking about cricket in Australia. Schneider worked with the Melbourne Cricket Ground, the MCG, with our solution. Already in a few months, we already saved more than 5% in energy. So we can have the cake and have it both ways. If we apply the technology that already exists in our fingertips today. So we're looking forward to helping how to make IPL even greener for India. That's just one example. But when you talk about 200 million people in India, that's roughly 2.5 billion globally that is going on urbanization. That means we need more schools, we need more homes, we need more hospitals, we need more transportations. This means we need 1.5 times more energy for everyone. The paradox is the energy as it stands today, when it continues to accelerate, our carbon emission is going to be more. And we need that to halve. Simply put the math, we need to be 3 times more efficient. We are living in the most interesting times of our lives. I don't know about you, but when I wake up in the morning, sometimes even before my eyes open, I reach out for something next to my bed. Any guess what that is? Exactly, your mobile phone. So I'm glad I'm not the weird one and the only one that's doing that. So that seems to be how we live today, right? Because you want to keep updated with the latest news to organize your day. In India alone, you have 650 million mobile users. Over 350 million of those are smartphones. What does this mean? You're already bigger than US in phone penetration. So whether you're watching a cricket, or whether you're connecting with friends or family, or doing business, we are pretty much always on. Do we agree with that? And that means we need more computing power. All this content is connected. We are spoiled. We want things to be instant. We're going for streaming. So we have big opportunities to leverage big data. At the same time, energy generation is becoming decentralized with smart grid and renewables. India's renewable energy already accounts for 19% of your total power capacity. Now, after a decade of connecting people to the internet, we're all connected to WhatsApp, yes? Well, at least my kids are connected to Facebook, and God forbid if the internet is down. When I go for holiday, the first question is not, what does the city have? The first question is, what's the Wi-Fi password? It's like am I the only one? Does anybody recognize this? What's the Wi-Fi password? That's by far the most important thing. Okay, so that's the reality of the next generation and us. So we're very excited because whether it is connecting product to product, product to the cloud, product to machine, machine to the cloud, we're expecting 50 billion more devices to be connected globally. In India alone, IoT market is expected to grow from 1.3 billion to 9 billion by 2020. There is an enormous potential to increase value and efficiency when you look at the acceleration of IoT. Now, the holy grail is the convergence of energy, automation, and software. This is when the magic happens. This is where we can take our efficiency to the next level. Ladies and gentlemen, this is exactly what Schneider is all about. We combine the power of energy with automation and software, and we serve 4 key end markets in the world: the building, infrastructure, data center, and the grid. And together, that accounts for 70% of the global energy consumption. Yet we know it is still highly inefficient. Buildings are still over 80% inefficient. Industry, over 50% inefficient. I feel that we are the generation that's privileged to address this inefficiency because we have a responsibility for the generations to come. And I hope you would agree with that. Now, at the same time, the rate of adoption of renewables and decentralization forces the rapid drop in pricing of renewable. And that's fantastic news for all. The prices already halved in the last 5 years for renewables, and storage was already divided by 3 in the last 10 years. And today, some of the renewable is already cheapest source of energy, including in Germany, Italy, Spain, US, and Australia. This means cheaper energy, easier access, and increased resiliency. So, with that, at Schneider, we have a simple philosophy. We want to ensure life is on for everyone, everywhere, at every moment. And in today's world, we know that life can only be on when we are energized, when we're efficient, and when we're connected. So let's recap. Energy consumption will double by 2050 thanks to urbanization, industrialization, and digitization. Yet we know there's 1.3 billion people globally that have no access to energy. That's equal to the population of India, so you know that number very well, what that means. We spoke about buildings, which are still inefficient, over 80%, and we're living in the most exciting time of our life because of digitization, where we can connect people, not only people to people, but people to machines and machine to machine, and what we like to call IoT. This means we can help all of you together. We will manage our energy efficiency better, we'll manage our supply better, and we'll manage our grid better. So that's what we want to do. So how does this come to life, Luke?
Thank you, Chris. So I hope that you have all been inspired by Chris. I'm sure you have been, not only by a bold statement on the future, but also by our Schneider color green sari. So what else to me now is to share with you how we can do that, how we should do that. And I have 2 simple messages. We do it now, and we do it together. We do it now because the journey has started some time ago already. We started our journey to the digital space back 20 years ago by connecting our products. And this is how the journey starts. We started to connect all of our products back 20 years ago. We were the first company to connect PLCs, programmable logic controllers, to the Ethernet 20 years ago. Now all of our products are connectable, and this is how the journey starts towards more efficient infrastructures. Now, the next step of the journey, we have been working on it in R&D, in development over the last decade, to lead to a fully integrated IoT-enabled architecture that we call EcoStruxure. And I will spend some time explaining what is EcoStruxure for the benefit of the 4 end markets that we are serving, that are buildings, data center, industry, and infrastructure. The way we bring to these end markets the technologies that are enabling efficiency, reliable dispatching of energy, and efficiency of processes is through 3 layers of technology. We bring softwares, applications, analytics that will be speaking to the end user so that the end user can make relevant decisions on how to operate their infrastructure. We bring edge controlling technologies that would help to automate and to pilot complex systems that are embedded within the infrastructure. And of course, we bring a very wide number of connected products that would enable to deliver power, motion, metering, down to the bottom of any form of infrastructure. And we integrate everything in a single architecture, which is an open architecture, which means that this architecture can be deployed on existing infrastructure, whether they are Schneider Electric or not. And we provide within this ecosystem a full end-to-end cybersecurity. You know that connected means cyber, and cyber means additional different risk. There are plenty of benefits of connectivity, but provided that we ensure cybersecurity end-to-end. So this is what EcoStruxure is about. We then deploy EcoStruxure by domains of expertise that would be fitting with the needs of our customers to make sure that we have the relevant technology applied by domain of expertise. So that's building, power, IT for the data infrastructures, machine for the machine builders, plant for any form of industry, and of course grid for the power grid and other type of grids such as transportation. This is really the architecture that we share with our end customers and our partners. We deploy this architecture not alone, we deploy it with you, our partners, so that everyone can contribute to build the most relevant solution for our customers. And the solution for our customers, they depend, of course, on our customer needs. They are specific to what we call a segment of customers. We do not deploy the same solution for oil and gas, where we have 20 of the largest oil and gas companies as customers. For mining and minerals, I will not give all the examples, but we have over 10 different segments of deployment where we would customize the proposition of the architecture of EcoStruxure so that we fit exactly with the needs of the customers of these segments. Then, of course, I would like to give you some examples on what means this deployment. I can tell you this is very hard because we need to choose the examples. And even in a country like India, where we have an incredible level of examples, as incredible India. So we picked some. Apologies for the so many that we could have picked beyond, but at least we started by some of the end markets that we are serving to give you some examples. So the question is that in the near future, which building will not be energy efficient? So we have worked together with one of our customers, the French hotel chain called Le Méridien, and they came to us with a challenge. They wanted to provide an outstanding guest experience, while at the same time driving energy efficiency. And they are smart enough to only want to work with one partner, thank you for that, and to implement the entire solution from technology to power infrastructure. This was a bold ask. And we took the bold challenge. And with our solution in building management system, in guest room management system, in lighting control for common areas and network connectivity and complete power distribution systems, we were able to reduce their energy bills by 10% in 3 months. And by experience, when we start the journey like this, we have experiences in building in the world where we managed to reduce energy bill by potentially 30 to 40%. So that's about building. Now, when we have smart building, why don't we build smart cities? So who is familiar with Naya Raipur city? Well, at least the chairman is very familiar, and I thank him again for his presence. So Naya Raipur city, it's simply India's first integrated greenfield smart city. It's a great achievement, and I can tell you this is a great achievement globally. We are very proud to share the bold vision towards improving the city efficiency, sustainability, and living condition of its community. They wanted real-time data on operations and maintenance of city infrastructure and services. We have the privilege to work with Naya Raipur to fulfill their vision, and it is how we do it. Schneider is providing smart solutions for their electrical network, water network, buildings, security and surveillance, transportation, citizen services. And we integrated all this on one platform at a centralized command center. And this is a first of a kind in India, and I can tell you a first of not that many kind globally, thanks to a great vision, a bold statement, and a bold challenge for us that we are very happy to have been trusted to implement with the city. Of course, a city won't work without a grid, and what grid will not be digital in the future? Let me share another example. Patna City had a bold mission. They wanted to bring uninterrupted power to its 1.5 million citizens. We helped them digitize their entire grid operations, bringing real-time monitoring, control on optimization, resulting in uninterrupted power and efficiency improvements. Our EcoStruxure architecture contributed to a 10% improvement in technical and commercial efficiencies since the project rollout in the middle of last year, and supporting the city's mission provided uninterrupted power to its citizens. There is just a few examples of how we bring bold ideas to life with our customers. Powering digital economy requires innovative technologies, highly engaged people, bold determination. Schneider Electric India is fully ready to open this new chapter with you now. We are committed to this vision of an energy-positive future. So thank you again for... Chris, come with me. I think we have a bold statement to make here. So please give us your feedback, visit the booth, ask as many questions as you would like to. Your questions help us to continue to innovate. This is really the bold statement of Schneider Electric, is that we are here for you, our partners and end customers. We would like you to visit to, of course, discover the parts of our company that you don't necessarily know yet. Please give us your feedback, because from there we'll continue to innovate to serve you better. This is really one of the goals of this Innovation Summit. We hope that with this we'll continue to build incredible India, because this is clearly how Chris and I, who are the ones not living here, look at India as the great potential country as such, and of course for us as a company. Thank you very much, and enjoy a great Innovation Summit for the next 2 days.
Have a great day. Okay, we go.
Anil, back to you.
Yes.
Thank you, Chris and Luke, for setting the pace for this Innovation Summit. With Life is On for everyone, everywhere, every moment, and the EcoStruxure. This is the platform architecture where we are bringing digitization, IoT, and Industry 4.0 together. Now, I did mention in my slide, Luke did share that India is already taking bold steps. And among us is a gentleman who has taken a bold step to make the first smart city in India. This is the Naya Raipur Development Authority city. And it's my honor and privilege to welcome on stage Shri Amar Kumar Singh, Principal Secretary, Government of Chhattisgarh, and Chairman Naya Raipur Authority, to share in his own words his bold step, his bold statement, and taking this leap forward for creating one of the best references, not only in India, but in the world. Over to you.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is very challenging to speak, more so after a sumptuous lunch. It's like coming to bat in the middle order after already the Kohlis and others have done their job. Before I talk about Naya Raipur, as was mentioned by Anil and others, that we are living in a very exciting time. India is one of the most happening places in the globe today, with a GDP of more than $2 trillion US, among the top 9 capital market. India is doing great. It is sheer luck that all of us are part of this revolution which is happening today. When you look at what is happening across the world and also in India, the confluence of technologies, be it artificial intelligence, be it blockchain, be it Internet of Things, big data, data analytics, are creating mesh of technologies and bringing cataclysmic changes. These changes are helping us in taking millions of people out of poverty. These changes, at times, for somebody like me, who is sitting in government, are frightening also. When you talk about digital India, when you talk about digitization, we all know the mobile connectivity in India has brought about sea changes, seismic changes. But still, you will be surprised that there are places like Dantewada, Sukma, in this country alone, where mobile penetration is not more than 7%. Sukma is an area of 7,000 square kilometers, and yet the mobile density there is not more than 3%. So we are definitely creating digital haves and digital have-nots. It was in 1971, very famous thinker, Herbert Simon, said that in the wealth of information, there is poverty of attention. Today, companies like Google control almost 40% of digital content. They control almost 50% of the digital marketing space. It is very important for people like us who are in the policy making to be able to understand what is happening not only in the physical space but also in the virtual space and try and strike a balance. Many of you sitting here might be aware that it was in 1971 when Intel for the first time launched its processor 4004. For those of you who might not remember, 4004 processor had 2300 transistors. We all know what is Moore's law. The latest processor from Intel has 1.75 billion transistors. In terms of sheer speed, in terms of computing power, it is 4 lakh times more powerful than 4004. It is by the name Skylake, as most of you must be aware, which is 400,000 times more powerful than 4004. But any of you remember what was the tallest building in 1971? The tallest building in 1971 was Twin Tower of World Trade Center in New York. It was 415 meters high. What is the tallest building now? It is still not more than 700 meters high. What was the fastest car in 1971? The fastest car in 1971 was Ferrari, and it was clocking 380 kilometers per hour. What is the fastest car now? We haven't crossed even 500 kilometers per hour. What I am trying to say is that if Ferrari had maintained the same speed of change which Moore's law predicted for processor, today the speed of Ferrari car should have been 1/10 of the speed of light. If the building technology had grown by the same speed, the tallest building should have covered half the distance of moon. So while the whole world is focused on digital haves and digital have-nots, today a similar divide is being created between the digital world and the physical world. Why is that despite so many layers of smartness, it still takes 4 to 5 years to create a thermal power plant in India? Why is that thermal power plant still takes 7 acres per megawatt? That means if you want to install a 1,000 megawatt power plant, you still need 700 acres. It still consumes 200 million cubic meters of water. This 200 MCM of water can irrigate 200 acres of kharif crop and 100 acres of rabi crop. Water is very precious. It still continues to emit pollution, which is a matter of concern. It still emits same amount of fly ash. What I'm trying to say is that there has been tremendous change in the digital space. We have moved from virtual reality to augmented reality. The law of accelerating return is in its full dance and glory. But the physical space is something which is still constricted, which is not able to keep pace, which is happening in the digital space. This lag is going to create huge problem across the world. So the kind of innovations which is happening in the digital space, the kind of energy, the kind of mind sharing which we are seeing here needs in the physical space also. I'll share, and as somebody who is working in government and somebody who is at the policy making, this is, as I mentioned, very frightening. When you don't even understand a sector, how do you regulate it? Talking about IoT, if you look at the way in which the human knowledge has evolved, until the end of 19th century, it took a century to generate that knowledge. By the end of Second World War, it took only 25 years to generate the same knowledge which was generated earlier in a century. And now, when we are 15, 17 years, 18 years in this century, it takes only 12 months to generate the same amount of knowledge which was generated in a century earlier. And with the IoT explosion taking place, with the companies like Schneider playing the kind of role which they are doing, it is going to be only 12 hours in which we will generate the same amount of knowledge which was generated earlier in a century. How do you manage this? How do you regulate this? The primary job of government is regulation, and then, of course, facilitation. Now, in this scenario, in this VUCA world, it is extremely challenging for us when we don't even understand what is technology. A couple of years ago, I wrote a piece in the Economic Times where I mentioned that GSTN, the backbone on which GST reforms is working, is a huge opportunity for us to experiment with blockchain technology, because blockchain involves multiple external stakeholders, distributed ledger, and GSTN is a classic case where it can give us huge dividends. It is very difficult for the biggest advantage of government or being in government, and that also in a country like India, where still the MyBop concept is that you are be all and end all of everything. When you sit on that chair, you are supposed to know everything. At least you pretend that you know everything. And it is very difficult to make people realize that we missed that whole opportunity. In fact, 3 months ago, the whole lot of problems which are associated with GST are not with taxation per se. It is because the kind of centralized network which we have created. Against this backdrop, bringing change in government is very, very challenging, and it is to the credit of my Chief Minister, Dr. Raman Singh, who had a vision of creating a first 21st century greenfield smart city that we were able to develop, Naya Raipur. And talking about Naya Raipur, right from incubation, planning to implementation, we have done several innovations which are must if we want the physical world to keep pace with the virtual world. The first and foremost requirement for developing a greenfield city is land. We started this around 12 years ago, and as against a classic case of land acquisition, we decided to go for directly purchasing land from farmers. Almost 8,000 hectares of land we have acquired, out of which 6,000 hectares we purchased from farmers by paying 3 times the existing guideline rate which was given to them, and there were no agitations, there were no problem. We decided to give them annuity of 15,000 rupees per year per acre, much before the annuity concept, the stakeholders concept came to currency anywhere in India. Just to share with you, the layer 1 is 8,000 hectares of land, which is with us. The layer 2 land, the whole Naya Raipur is developed into 37 square kilometer. Roughly, it is planned for 5.6 lakh population, and the core area is of almost 91 square kilometer, which we have acquired. Layer 2 only we are covering with the help of development plan, and layer 3 is primarily for airport. As I mentioned, it is reflection of the kind of vision my Chief Minister, Dr. Raman Singh, has for the state, and it is also a flag bearer of Resurgent Chhattisgarh, which is only 17-year-old state. It has 26% of recreational and green area. It is a green city. One of the longest non-motorized transport for cycling, which is totaling 65 kilometers, we have developed in this city. All the grid patterns of street, if you can see, it is a linear framework in order to help us in developing it with the help of mass transport transit system. We are the first city in India to adopt and implement TOD approach. In fact, this TOD approach helps us in creating multimodal transport, which is going to be the hub, and along with the help of mixed land use and high density development near the nucleus, we are going to ensure that within 5 minutes after getting down in the station, you can travel 400 meters, which would be the high concentration zone, and another 5 minutes, the 800 meters, which would cover most of the planned development area. We already developed 100 kilometers of 4-lane and 6 lanes. In fact, we have done investment of more than $2 billion already. It is one of the rare cities where 24/7 pressurized potable water is available. It is a zero discharge city with 6 decentralized sewage treatment plants available. In fact, even not a drop of water is wastage in our city. There is a tertiary filtering also, and the water is used either for gardening or for some other flushing purposes. It is a complete underground network. There are 14 indoor 3311 kV substations, 2 132 kV substations, and 1 220 kV substations. There is a ring mesh of 3 networks so that there is redundant, adequate power supply. Complete fiber optics, 55 kilometers of LED smart street lightings, which helps in switching off, switching on, dimming it, alternative switch off, switch on, right from the control center. There is an ITS-enabled bus rapid transport system, online monitoring of buses, passenger information system, and also electronic ticketing system, and all through centralized command and control. All the premier educational and healthcare institutes are already there. One of the biggest man-made jungle safari is only 5 kilometers away from the center of the city. It is 850 acres. It has 5 safaris starting from tiger, lion, herbivore, bear, and crocodile park. There are huge public spaces. There are gardens, fountains, plantations, open spaces, theaters, 5D domes, everything. The second largest cricket stadium of India is in Raipur after Eden Gardens, and it is amongst the top 3 stadiums in the world today. The administrative capital of the state, it is one of the most state-of-the-art modern Mantralaya you will see anywhere in the world, and we are functioning there from November 2012. There are 40 sectors in Naya Raipur, out of which 21 sectors are residentials. More than 7,000 dwelling units already constructed by various public and private partners. Almost a population of 100,000 staying there. 27% of green area. this whole area of 80 square kilometers is surrounded by a green belt of 500 meters in order to ensure that the wind coming from any part is filtered before entering the city. We are the first city in India which has a fully functional smart city infrastructure, starting from services layer, awareness layer, application layer, communication layer, and sensing layers. We have put 6 streams, starting from utility management to surveillance system to building management system, centralized control center and data center, and the transport system. And there was a very tough competition to select our partner for smart city development. And of course, after a very detailed technical and financial scrutiny, it was the Schneider Electric, which is our major partner. And I'm very happy to share that they have done a phenomenal job in creating this first truly smart city of India. Talking about smart governance, the single window access, the GIS-based land management, the building plan approval, the human resource, the asset management, linking it to Aadhaar, also controlling the consumption pattern, all this has been done as a part of service automation. The SCADA system for all utility, be it sewerage, be it drainage, be it water, be it electricity, have been seamlessly attained. Similarly, for secure environment, the video management system, the analytics, the CCTV dashboard gives a one single integrated view to the governing body. In order to ensure the unauthorized access, there are automatic number plate reading cameras to detect speed violation, unauthorized parking, unauthorized movement, unidentified objects which are not safe and secure. A complete network has been created. And this centralized command and control is no less than any Hollywood movie you would see. And it gives a complete view and ability to monitor, to control, to operate, and also maintain the whole city, and thus create a truly smart city, the first smart city of India. We have similarly for the building management system also, which is our own Naya Raipur Development Authority, our own building is the first such building. Now what next? We are planning to take the smartness to the next level and integrate it with health, education, homes, utility as a service, particularly TAS, the concept of transport as a service, where we give end-to-end mobility solution to all our citizens, the solar city, the electric vehicle ecosystem, the solid waste smart management, and of course, smart signage system. Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you. If there are any questions or something like that.
So, thank you, Mr. Aman Kumar Singh, for such a wonderful sharing of experience. And thank you also for taking India leapfrogging on this integrated smart city. As some of my colleagues, global colleagues have said, that this is not only in India that we are doing this, but it's also one of the very unique references globally. So thank you for taking this. And smart cities are all about sustainability. And we have taken this pledge that whatever we are doing has to be sustainable. And I just wanted to share some facts while you are on the stage about this, summit as well. We are making it carbon neutral. So if we look from the point of view of all what we are doing, there's about 300 tons of carbon impact which is there. But we are compensating that by providing biogas as well as organic fertilizers to farmers in villages to grow the vegetation to compensate for that. That's the pledge we have taken to make it a carbon neutral. And as a token of our appreciation for you being here, this is a sustainable plant, and for your
thank you very much. Any questions? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I was just coming to that if there are any questions, quickly we can have one or two questions for Mr. Singh. Yeah, please.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Dinesh. So, just a question. I was just doing a back of envelope calculation. 1 lakh people being supported with 8 square kilometers understood.
80 square kilometers.
80 square kilometers, which would mean then we need around 10 lakh square kilometers to support a population, the Indian population.
No, it's not like that. See,
60%
when you develop a city, our plan is to take it to 5 million population eventually. So when you start, the vision has to be big. The land acquisition you can't do every day. So we have the core area is of 80 square kilometer where we are developing the infrastructure. We are also attracting the population by creating jobs, industry. So gradually it will take place.
5 million.
Yes. Sorry, 5 lakh population, 500,000 by 2025.
Good afternoon, sir. I want to know only two things. What is your schedule to complete it, and what is your planning about the financial revenues to complete such big thing?
See, development of city is which takes generations. It is not something which can be done in 3 years or 5 years or 10 years. But our plan is that while we are thinking big, we are starting small, and our plan is that we want to achieve a population there or habitation there of 500,000 by 2025. That is an idea. But the whole concept of infrastructure, the basic infrastructure has been developed. Rest of the other infrastructure is scalable, which can gradually increase as the population increases. There are plans for industry, there are plans for entertainment, services, IT-enabled services, so on and so forth. As far as funding is concerned, there is some amount of funding, mostly from the state government only, initially, to develop the basic infrastructure. Some amount of money has come from Government of India also, some money from private also. The investment scene is gradually improving, so we hope to attract more investment there. Right.
Good. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Singh. Thank you once again for your valuable inputs and your time.
Thank you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I think a country is, when they take these kind of transformation, you need to have some visionary, some leader who is able to visualize beyond tomorrow, day after, and look for those kind of directions which country should take to make a difference. So it's my great privilege and honor to welcome the man behind India's smart city movement, the man behind digital vision and revolution in the country, none other than CEO Niti Udyog, Shri Amitabh Kantji, to be with us and share with them. So thank you very much, sir, for your valuable time with the Parliament session on. We really understand how challenging it is, but I think there could be nobody else can share how the digitization and innovation is going to change the face of India in a transforming way. Thank you, sir. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chaudhary. Great pleasure being here. I'm delighted that Schneider has organized this wonderful conference on innovation. Ladies and gentlemen, as I speak here today, every minute there are 30 Indians who are moving from rural areas to urban areas. If you go by the latest McKinsey study, by 2050, you will have 700 million Indians getting into the process of urbanization. This means that by 2030, India's challenge is to create 2.5 Americas. When America urbanized, land, gas, and water were all cheaply available. And because they were cheaply available, America had the luxury of living in New Jersey, traveling to New York, having big limousines, guzzling gas. America had the luxury of creating cities like Atlanta, where 99.9% of the people travel by cars. So American cities were actually designed for cars and not for people. And American car companies actually bought over the railway companies and destroyed the railway companies so that the cars could sell. And American economy has grown and prospered on the back of the car economy. The process of urbanization has ended across America. It's ended across Europe. It's nearing its completion in China. But the process of urbanization has just begun in India. And we will see more urbanization in the next 5 decades than what we've seen in the last 5,000 years. India will construct more, will urbanize more. If we were to follow the American model of urbanization, you will need 4 planet Earth. You will need 4 planet Earth. But alas, we have only 1 planet Earth. And therefore, there's a huge possibility and potential for India to do innovative and sustainable urbanization and create a unique model for the rest of the world to follow. And I think this is truly a great opportunity for India. And this is a great opportunity because we are in the midst of several great radical disruptions that are taking place today. India is the only country in the world which has 1 billion mobile. We're the only country in the world with 1 billion biometric. We're the only country in the world with 1 billion bank accounts. And therefore, we all, many of us today, use our mobile to do digital payments. Our bank accounts have both our biometric and our bank account numbers. So I can use my mobile, and if I have to transfer money to Mr. Chaudhary, I can transfer it to his mobile number or from my biometric number to his biometric number, but it will be a transfer to his bank account. And when this happens across India, we are throwing up a lot of data. And one of the biggest challenges before us is the huge computational algorithms that have been built up. Huge amount of data, huge amount of algorithms, and the fact that machine learning has breached the bastion of mankind thinking, and his ability of machine learning is much quicker and much faster after a Chinese game called AlphaGo, in which machine learning beat, and this game has many, many numbers of strategic moves when machine learning breached the bastion of human thinking. And therefore you will have data. And India is uniquely poised because unlike America, where data is owned by Google and Facebook, unlike China, where data is owned by Alibaba and Tencent, in India, data is owned by Aadhaar, which is a public entity. And on the back of it, much of the digital payment data is owned by Unified Payment Interface, which is a government entity. And therefore, when we started digital payments, we initiated something called the Bharat Interface for Money, called the BHIM, an app which enabled digital payment to take place. But 5 months down the line, Google saw a huge opportunity, and Google came with Google Tej and took away 76% of the market. And then WhatsApp realized that there's a huge market and came in and I started WhatsApp payment, and I think another 2 months down the line, Facebook will come with its own innovative payment interface for India. So what you're seeing in India is that on the back of public entities and on the back of great public infrastructure, you're seeing a huge amount of private innovation taking place. Great amount of private innovation taking place. And data is publicly owned, but on the back of it, private enterprises, Beam, Google, WhatsApp, Facebook, are all innovating. And they are innovating in a very dynamic manner. And therefore, because of this vast availability of data, and the fact that India is the only country with 1 billion biometric, India is uniquely poised. India is uniquely poised to have data. And if you go by the latest PwC report, this massive flow of data will actually create a huge amount of opportunity for the world, not merely for India. $15.7 trillion worth of output by 2030, which is more than the combined output of China and India. That is what artificial intelligence will throw out. And therefore, the data and our ability to use data to arrive at the right answers and use artificial intelligence to arrive at the right conclusions will be the key. And if you read another report by Accenture, Rewired for Growth, what it says is that by 2030, India will be able to raise its GDP by 1.3%, which is close to about almost 957 billion, simply because of its capacity and capability to use data, analyze data, and use artificial intelligence to make massive breakthroughs. And therefore, these are unique opportunities. These are unique opportunities because no country in the world has seen the size and scale of transmission and has not seen the size and scale of urbanization. We are the only country in the world which is talking about 100 smart cities. We are the only country in the world which is talking about 50 metros. We are talking about bullet train from Mumbai to Ahmedabad, which will spread on to Delhi. And by today it takes 14 days for goods to move when they are produced in the northern part of India to move to the western part of India, to Mudra Port, Pipavav and JNPT. But by 2018, with the coming in of the dedicated freight corridors, goods will move within 14 hours. So the paradigm shift will be from 14 days to 14 hours. And the Calcutta-Amritsar corridor will create the same opportunity of moving goods within 14 hours. So what you're seeing is a huge disruption in infrastructure which will take place. We are creating about almost 85,000 kilometers of highways in India through the Bharatmala project. This kind of a huge transformation of the economy through infrastructure has never been seen before. And therefore, the key for India is how do we use technology to leapfrog. One of the things India will do will be that simply because we use digital technology, we use our mobile for transferring money, and since we have embedded all bank accounts with biometric and with bank mobile numbers, India will probably in 4 years' time make all debit cards, all credit cards technologically redundant. We'll be the first country in the world where there will be no debit card, there will be no credit card, there will be no ATMs, and everyone will be using mobile phones to do digital transactions. We'll make physical banking absolutely go dead. Physical banks will not be alive anymore. And simply because today, if you look at it, just look at the transformation. 2.5 years back, India was 155th in mobile data consumption. This year, India is #1 in the world with mobile data consumption. Our mobile data consumption is more than the mobile data consumption of China and USA put together. Is more than the mobile data consumption of USA and China put together. And therefore, the rapid rate at which the cost of smartphones is falling in India, it's coming down to $7, $8. You will have 1 billion Indians with smartphones. And therefore, all transactions will happen in smartphones. Every bit of movement will happen on smartphone. And what is the opportunity that it throws up? It throws up massive opportunities as we get into the process of urbanization. It gives you the possibility of using data, using artificial intelligence to analyze and arrive at the right conclusion as we move forward. You can use data today for better quality of life, for better water management, for better electricity management, and for public transportation. And all these areas, and then improve the quality of human life through education and health. And all this using mobile telephony. Your ability, and much of this is happening on the back of what Aman told you about in Naya Raipur, which I had gone and seen. And much before that, I had gone and seen the brilliant work done by Schneider in Barcelona. Barcelona is a great heritage city. It's an amazing heritage city, but Schneider innovated in a heritage city. It merged the technological and the digital infrastructure with the physical infrastructure and made Barcelona a great city for living. The quality of life is brilliant because it combines digital advancement with the heritage aspects of Barcelona. So when you live in Barcelona, you have great, wonderful living because you can manage your electricity, your power, your public transportation using much of the infrastructure which Schneider has created. So when I took over as CEO of the Delhi-Mumbai corridor, one of the first things we said, the key to great cities is great planning. The key to great city is blending your physical infrastructure with digital infrastructure and laying seamlessly as you plan on the underground a whole infrastructure of the digital trunk infrastructure which will take India into the next stage. So both as we move forward in Dholera, in Shendra and Bidkin, in the Ujjain knowledge city, in Greater Noida, the new city which we are doing, all these cities have digital infrastructure which is blended with the physical infrastructure, which will enable data to be processed and enable a better quality of life. And I think, to my mind, the central command room of all these cities will enable technology to leapfrog and provide a better quality of life to the human citizens as we move forward. So to my mind, the key really is India's great ability as it moves forward to use the vast amount of public infrastructure that it has created, blend biometric and the citizens' biometric with the physical infrastructure that we have created. And the physical infrastructure must converge and integrate itself with the digital infrastructure. And if we are able to do this, we'll manage cities after cities on the back of central command rooms and on the back of human mobiles. And Aadhaar will be the backbone to all this. And therefore, when we are doing several innovative things in India right now. One of the biggest transformations that will happen in India shortly will be the health infrastructure that we are creating. About 150,000 primary health centers and the National Health Protection Scheme. One of the first things we are doing is much like we have created the India stack on Aadhaar, the JAM Trinity, what we call the JAM Trinity, that is the Jan Dhan account, Aadhaar and the mobile, we are creating a health stack. First thing we said is we must create a health stack, and that health stack will enable electronic medical records for all citizens of India, and it'll all be portable. So you can be living in near Raipur, But when you move to mobile and you go to a doctor, he'll look at your electronic medical record and provide the right medicine for you depending on your electronic medical record. So all of it will be portable, all it will be mobile first, and all of it will be digitally linked. And therefore, the key is as India moves forward, as India continues its unabated process of urbanization, it has a huge opportunity. It has a huge opportunity to create 100 Naya Raipurs. It has a great opportunity to create a better quality of life. It has a great opportunity to not to repeat the mistakes which were made in the western part of the world. Many of these lessons come from the eastern part of the world. They come from Singapore, on how Singapore recycles its water. Almost 10% of the wastewater is recycled for human consumption. Many of these lessons come from Kita-Kyushu in Japan, where the women of Japan rose in revolt against the rapid industrialization of Japan. The city of Dokai, the Bay of Dokai on which the city is based, had become absolutely yellow from blue, and the women rose in revolt. And the women of Kita-Kyushu worked with the Ministry of Trade and Industry, METI, to make it a recycling city. So if you go to Kita-Kyushu, everything is recycled. Or they come from Yokohama, where a young mayor was able to reduce waste by 40%, 39.8%, a young woman mayor. And they come from Curitiba, where every single citizen is able to access a rapid bus transport system by 2 minutes, within 2 minutes of walking. So the future, ladies and gentlemen, many of these lessons come from the eastern part of the world. They don't come from sprawling cities. They don't come from cities which are sprawls. They come from compact, dense, vertical cities. And compactness, dense, vertical cities on the back of public transportation, on the back of metros, on the back of rapid bus transport systems give you better livability. And therefore, happiness, livability is linked to the form of urbanization that you take. And India's process of innovation and urbanization has just begun. And the challenge for India is to use the might of its Aadhaar, the backbone of its Aadhaar, the ambition of its urbanization process, and the dreams of many of its billion Indians to create a new model of innovation and sustainable urbanization, which is the convergence of digital with the physical, so that we can create a better quality of life for our citizens. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for such a wonderful vision and the work you're doing. I think as Schneider Electric, we are very committed for taking your vision forward and make it into reality, to make sure that the new India is energy positive, and as we say it, that this is the century when we have to be successful. Hum honge kamyab together with sport and your vision. So thank you once again, and as a token of respect, this is the sustainability model we have created for that, and this is for your honor, sir. And thank you once again for such a charging speech. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Over to you, MC.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for that enlightening vision. Thank you so much, Mr. Chaudhary. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we will now have a 30-minute tea break. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We now move into the next section of our plenary. In this session, we have industry luminaries and veterans sharing their experience of their journey upon which they have embarked and their vision of powering the digital economy. So without much ado, we would now like to invite on stage Managing Director and CEO, NetMagic Solutions, Mr. Sharat Sanghi.
Good afternoon, everyone. And I'd like to begin by thanking Schneider for giving me this opportunity. We've had a great relationship with Schneider. NetMagic and NTT, basically, we build many data centers in the country, and we are pioneers in cloud computing and managed services for customers across the country. So our relationship with Schneider has been right from our inception, which was in the year 2000. Our data center business, Schneider provided us UPSs and a lot of other things. And we continue to have this great relationship. And at their, invitation, I thought it would be a great opportunity for me to share our journey, and whatever little I can help, I'll be happy to share. So I'll speak a little bit about the challenges that we've faced over the last 20 years, and also what are some of the innovation that we've done to overcome these challenges, and how we have to continue to innovate to be relevant in this industry. So let's start with the business challenges. So, data centers, as you know, are very capital intensive. Depending on the tiering of data center that you build, it could be anywhere from 25,000 upwards per square foot is the kind of investment that goes. And we have over 1 million square foot in India. So you can imagine it's a very capital intensive industry. And the fundamental, earlier when we started the business, we would have customers taking these physical standalone servers in racks, right? And then came the advent of virtualization and cloud computing, and suddenly what would require multiple racks to accommodate could be accommodated in a single server, right? You could have with the advent of virtualization. That posed two challenges. One, do we still continue to build large footprints? If everything is shrinking, do we still need to continue to build such large businesses? And second, even the energy, the power per rack or the rack density became very, very high. We started, I remember, in 2000 with 3 kVA per rack, and now we are doing loads much higher, 5-6 times higher than that. There's also global competition. So the cloud computing, we are the largest Indian cloud computing service provider in the country, but we have the global hyperscalers. I think the next speaker is one of them. I think Anand from Microsoft, and also we have players like Amazon and others as well. So we have global hyperscalers in this market. And so how do you compete with them, right, with the kind of scale that they have? So these are some of the challenges that we faced. So we continue to innovate, right, and this innovation is across the entire organization, right? So it starts with the very first thing was when we started with cloud computing back in 2009, right? And as I said, the customer footprint reduced drastically. Our sales team started questioning, saying that, why should we do cloud, right? Because you are going to shrink your revenue per customer, and you're going to shrink the footprint of your data centers. But we knew that if we didn't do that, right, we would be irrelevant soon. So we were the first players in India to do that. Now we have a challenge where you have multiple hyperscalers, right, as I mentioned. So should we just try and again spend something that somebody's already done? Our thought was we'll partner with them rather than compete with them only. And so now what we've done is we've adopted a model of multi-cloud. So through a common customer interface, we can provision, monitor, and manage infrastructure, IT infrastructure across multiple cloud. And that is something that we've done successfully in India. The other thing, we are part of NTT Communications. NetMagic was acquired by NTT Communications a few years back. And the NTT Vision is software-defined everything which is completely managed, or what they call as SDX plus M. So there's a lot of innovation there as well for us to remain relevant. And we do software-defined compute, storage, and network, both local area within the data center and wide area networks. We're one of the first to launch these products in India. And these are completely managed. So we want the customer to completely outsource to us so that he or she doesn't have to worry about the uptime and the sustenance of this infrastructure. The other innovation we've done is on data analytics. A lot of analytics we do not only for our business, the business MIS, analyzing that, but also on operations to try to predict failures. And so there's a lot of work that we're doing there, not only on the IT side, but also on the data center infrastructure side with the help of companies like Schneider. Also on customer support, we have automated bots, and we do a lot of autonomics so that repeated failures we could predict in advance using AI and machine learning tools, and then automatically fix them, right? Again, this is early days, and as time progresses, we'll do more and more in this area. And of course, there is the intelligent data center, right? And that is the smart data center that you heard Schneider talking about. I think almost 70% of our data center is powered by Schneider. And so I won't go into that. You'll hear enough of that in this conference. But happy to take questions at the end. What are some of the areas of digital transformation? So I thought I'll just present a framework that we follow in our organization. So whether it's products, whether it's the entire organization itself, whether it's customers or processes and systems, we've done some kind of digitization in each of these areas. So when it comes to products and services, everything should be on a pay-per-use basis. So even not only the cloud, which is by definition pay-per-use, but also all our other products and services, we're now adopting the pay-per-use model. We do complete automation right from the time there's a prospect till the time the customer is signed or contract is signed, customer goes live, service delivery, and also operations. So complete workflow automation we've achieved over the last few years. Even our invoices are digital invoices. Now although in India you still have to send the paper invoices, otherwise customers don't pay. But hopefully that will change. We have more and more adoption of customers willing to pay on digital invoicing. In terms of the organization, a lot of our collaboration between our employees is all digital. From our HRMS system to our systems like SharePoint and others, we've adopted that across the company. Our knowledge base or repository, we have an internal portal that helps us share information and best practices as you grow and as you have multiple locations. We also have to share this with entity companies across the world. Just to let you know, NTT Communications is a Fortune 50 company which is present in about 150 countries with over 275,000 people. So we have to collaborate with all of them, and so therefore we need to have a lot of tools and technology to be able to do that. From a customer perspective, we want to make sure that the customer experience is very good, and right from the portal, when the customer signs up, is able to seamlessly monitor and manage the infrastructure that is outsourced to us. He should be able to see his invoicing, he should be able to see the uptime of all his equipment and also the uptime of his applications. So, and this we're now doing not only on our own infrastructure, but also on partner infrastructure from Microsoft and Amazon. And of course, provide support and analytics. From a process and systems perspective, because we want to be customer-centric and nimble, as well as be available to the customer around the clock, we have adopted an end-to-end digital workflow, which gives us information on our fingertips on applications that we have, so that we can respond to the customer. If something goes down, we should find out before the customer does, and we've achieved that successfully with the transformation that we've done. Of course, this is a work in progress. Always, there's always room for improvement, and we continue to innovate there. I'll spend a little bit of time on our cloud management platform as an example of some of the digital innovation that we've done. As I said, we started with our own cloud in 2009, and last year, in the last couple of years, we've had the global hyperscalers come into India. Initially, we thought we'll compete with them, and so I'll cover later that there was an organizational, cultural issue that I had to overcome. But eventually, we decided that we want to own the customer, and it doesn't matter if the platform that the customer uses is of a partner, right? And we've managed to have a single interface that can seamlessly manage customer infrastructure across multiple clouds. And that's the reality. In India, you'll have most organizations having infrastructure not only in private data centers, but also on multiple cloud. There's a lot of shadow IT that you see these days. So with this, we can actually address that entire market. And this is a single pane of glass, so very easy to use for the customer. I want to make, although this doesn't directly fit into this conversation, but all this talk of digital, right? Whether it's smart cities we talked about, whether it's in the past we talked about Aadhaar, the most important element for us is cybersecurity. It's one of the key focuses of our organization. You have information coming from multiple sources. And how do you analyze this in real time, coming from multiple sources and making sure that the system is secure and it is available all the time against attacks? We have some very, very mission critical customers, and the amount of attacks that we are seeing these days is unprecedented. I remember when I started NetMagic, we used to see an occasional attack maybe once a few months. And now we are seeing 10 times the scale of these attacks every single hour, right, across multiple customers. So, I mean, denial of service attacks, which used to be like a few megabits, have now gone to 1.4 terabits per second, right? It went to megabits, then went to gigabits, and now it's actually crossed several gigabits. And if that kind of attack hits India, you know, we don't have, unless you come up with some innovation, we don't have the infrastructure to protect against that. So there's a lot of innovation. There are companies that are doing this innovation, and we need to partner with these companies to be able to prevent, remain up. I don't think, you know, one of the things I've noticed in India in general, right, and things are changing now, is customers don't want to spend for disaster recovery and security, right? Most people are happy, you know, this is like insurance. Oh, if it hits us, we'll look at it. I think you've seen attacks across the world. You've seen major disasters across the world. And it's high time that we do take this seriously even in the country, right? Because otherwise, all these fancy programs, whether it's in the enterprise or whether it's government, you'll see it on the front page in the newspaper one of these days that something big has happened, right? We've been fortunate that there's nothing major. There have been a couple of leaks, but there's nothing major that's happened. But it's only a matter of time. The other thing is, you know, there's been a paradigm shift when you talk about cloud computing. The way earlier customers used to work with service providers like us, we kind of controlled everything. You know, it would take 3 or 4 weeks for the customer to go live. They would have to enter into long-term contracts. But that the world has changed. The customer wants control. So everything has to be given to the customer through a simple, easy-to-use interface. And the customer can switch from one provider to another literally overnight. So customer retention is a very, very big challenge. So if you don't innovate, customer retention is impossible. Some of the, I had the previous speakers speak a lot about IoT. I thought I'll give you a couple of examples of how IoT is being used today, both by customers and by us internally. So by customers, for example, we have customers doing smart metering. So the meters have smart IP addresses, and you can, you know, they don't have to send a person to electricity meters to actually measure the usage consumption. You can do it remotely. We're also seeing, like we have a customer that actually does this TV ratings. So they've got these smart meters that measure which channel you're switching on television. There's a company called Bark that has got, I think, a few 100,000 of these across the country. And all of this data comes to our cloud, and then we use data analytics to kind of make meaningful use out of that data. And of course, we also use this within our data centers. I'm more an IT person, and I'm addressing a lot of people here who are infrastructure specialists. So I think it's only fair to give you an example of how we're using this with smart probes to actually figure out if there's an additional compressor running on an air conditioner that we can shut off automatically and things like that. So we have, you know, building management systems, and we are looking at even the software that the Schneider speaker spoke about to see how we can use IoT to increase our efficiency. Because you know, we want to be environmental friendly, and not only that, the beauty is in our business, being environmental friendly also is good in terms of profitability, right? So it's a win-win for us. I'll quickly touch upon the partner ecosystem. Many of our partners are also Schneider's partners, and I've met many of them, whether it's Tata Power, whether it's our landlords, and whether it's our various integrators who've done amazing work for us, and of course Schneider. So I thought I'll just spend a little bit of time on the partner ecosystem. So what we'd like to do with partners is to do joint product development. We're doing this with some of our IT partners. We'd also like to do this with companies like Schneider, where they take some of our feedback and actually come. And actually, I know Venkat from when he was at earlier for APW had done customized racks for us. So Schneider has done that for us in the past, but we'd like to do more and more. And I know our team is pushing them for when it comes to especially the new chillers to do systems that are not only energy efficient but also are easy to be managed, and so that we can maximize our uptime. We are also working with partners to create innovation labs. A lot of partners that we work with actually come out with new products that are not well supported in India. So we would like to offer to be able to test some of this infrastructure hardware, whether it's building infrastructure or whether it's IT infrastructure, so that we can jointly make sure that it's well supported, and also our own engineers are trained on them. And of course, with some partners like the global hyperscalers and others, we would like to do not only compete but also cooperate with them, and in a lot of cases do a joint go-to-market. I think I've covered some of this, but just wanted to take you through some of the cultural changes that an organization faces. So when we started cloud, I mentioned, we had a major challenge where our own sales team were not comfortable, right, of reducing the revenue per customer and footprint per customer. That itself was a challenge that we successfully overcome. Then, about a year or so, year and a half back, when we saw that the global hyperscalers are a reality and are here to are investing heavily in India, we wanted to, we came up with a strategy of allowing the customer to choose which cloud he wants. Even that faced a lot of resistance internally, because the product managers and others in the company who were working on this cloud so passionately, our own cloud, weren't very comfortable working with other partners. But we overcame that, and we've now been very, very successful in offering and managing cloud solutions across partners. Another challenge we faced was when we were doing the entire workflow automation, right? The end-to-end workflow that I talked about, completely automated. A lot of challenges where, various teams didn't want to, they were used to doing things on Excel, and they were used to doing things in a particular manner, and there had to be a cultural shift for the organization to adopt this. So while we were preaching to others, we had to make sure that we were also digitized internally, and we've overcome that also successfully. What are some of our expectations from our partners? From Schneider, of course, we want enhanced energy efficient systems. They've already given us the state of the art, but we want them to continuously innovate. We would like some of our IT vendors and others to see if they would be willing to do a pay-per-use model. So as we use more, because the way we are growing, we are not able to cope up with the demand, and it's very difficult for us to stock inventory. We want our partners to provide extended support. It's not some new technology that's supported in some other country. Just bring it here and not provide us the support, because we are running a mission-critical business. Even a 1 second disruption basically means our business is down, right? So if we, while we have the UPS backup, generator backup, but if something goes down, it's like it takes days for us to recover. So, we want that kind of support from partners. And as I mentioned, an innovation lab where we can jointly test and jointly create new technology. That's all I had for this discussion. I'll be happy to answer any questions. Yeah. Yeah. So NTT is actually a pioneer in 5G. So, again, I'm on the IT side, and NTT has multiple companies. One is NTT Communications, which is our parent, and there's NTT Docomo, which unfortunately exited India. They are doing a lot of innovation, in fact, are doing trials. There's actually a government delegation that's going to Japan next week or week after next to see the state of the art. So it's only a matter of time. It will eventually come. It'll just, the speeds that you'll get will just make whatever we're trying to do much, much more easier. So, for example, when Jio launched, we saw a 20%, 25% increase in data volume. And, and other competitors like Airtel also, started giving better pricing as well as better, everybody had to improve their networks because there was stiff competition. We saw a huge uptake in the customer adoption because newer and newer applications can be used. So 5G is only a matter of time.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you have a question, please raise your hand and wait for the mic to come to you so everyone can hear your question.
Hi,
Thank you.
Sanjay Verma. I want to ask, there are a lot of real-time applications. There are a lot of real-time applications, like where we do controls as well.
Yeah.
So far we have been talking about IoT, which is primarily collecting data, which is for management and dashboards. But do you foresee the cloud-based solutions for real-time applications as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's only a matter of time. I think in any new technology, right, there is a adoption curve, and I think we are probably at an early stage in that curve. So it's only a matter of time. When, for example, cloud computing started, most customers were using it only for DevOps and for testing and for DR. Now we are seeing main production applications. So it's only a matter of time.
Ricardo Tavares from Tech Policy. Data centers are energy intensive. Some people try to locate them in cold places because you can save the energy from the refrigeration. India is not exactly, while there are places that are cold, most of the year the country is very hot. So how do you manage the competitiveness of Indian data centers in this environment? What's the role of energy consumption?
Okay. Well, brilliant question, and thank you for asking it. I should have covered that in my presentation. So there are two lifelines a data center has, right? One is power, reliable power, and you may have all the UPS itself, but at the end of the day, you want reliable power. And the second is your fiber connectivity, right? For an internet data center, you have two lifelines. So the best in India as of now, and of course this is changing, and once this changes across the country, you will start seeing data centers in different parts. Right now, believe it or not, the data center capital of India is Mumbai, because you have the best power. And the third factor is where your customers are. So there are two types of businesses that we do. One is cloud computing, where it doesn't matter where your data center is. And one is enterprise applications hosting, where you need to be close to your customer. So Bombay's got the best fiber connectivity. Bombay's got the best power with people like Tata Power and Reliance. And Bombay's also got the financial capital, so it has almost all the major decision makers for data centers are in Bombay. Now, Bombay is not the best climate. The PUEs we achieve are in the range of 1.35 to 1.4. I'm sure we have companies within NTT that are doing PUEs of less than, around 1.2, and I'm sure there are even better ways of doing that. But with a climate like Bombay, so that's a very good point. Now, when you're doing a capital-intensive business, right, you need to make sure that you have enough demand. And if we get an anchor customer in a cold climate, and if we can find enough connectivity, like in Bombay we have, or in any of the major metros, we have 7 fiber providers coming to our data center, being a carrier-neutral facility, then we are happy to do somewhere else. But, investing like $100+ million in a building to house, and then you don't get customers, that also is a big challenge. So we are working with some of the global large customers to see if they want to locate this in a more colder place so that they can get the benefits of the energy. There are also some states that are offering us really, really low-cost electricity. Right? So we've been approached by almost all the major state governments saying that we can give you electricity at this rate. But again, we want to make sure that we get customers are willing to move there. So the 3 factors, power, connectivity, and customer willing to move. And then, so that comes first, because but obviously we would like to reduce the, make our data centers even more energy efficient, because it's a win-win for the environment, for the customers and us.
Thank you. Proximity of the time, I will say that he's going to be around, so you can ask your question, because we have next speaker and he has to catch the flight. So please accommodate.
Last question.
Okay, go ahead.
So Sharad, I'm from Velour Institute of Technology, Ashwini Kumar. I have one small question. You know, the technologies what you mentioned, whether it is analytics, cybersecurity, or the IoT, we have the very good student potential in the campus. The point what you mentioned about the innovation labs, is there any possibility that you can extend that and collaborate with us?
Yes, absolutely. We are working with some of the, we are very close to IIT Bombay, so we are working with IIT Bombay and a few others. So we are happy we can meet after this and we can certainly look at it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for a very strong insight, and I think, and as a token of our sustainable appreciation, this is a plan for you, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Really appreciate it. And please, you can interact with Shahad whenever the break is there. So over to you, MC.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chaudhary. Thank you so much, Mr. Sanghi, for that extremely insightful presentation. Our next speaker leads Microsoft's interactions with policymakers, customers, and business partners as the company continues its transformation into leading the intelligent cloud and the intelligent edge. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives us great privilege in inviting on stage President Microsoft India, Mr. Anant Maheshwari.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. First of all, thanks to the Schneider leadership team for inviting me for this talk. I will just very quickly get started. So when you see a topic like this, towards a future powered by intelligence, you're bound to ask the question, how did we get here? Is it any different? We got here with a lot of intelligence, so what's different going forward? I'd like to quote a luminary of the world who passed away last week, Stephen Hawking, and called by many as amongst the biggest visionaries that our generation and many generations may see. So Stephen Hawking had defined intelligence very simply as the ability to adapt to change. He's also very famously quoted to have said that success in creating artificial intelligence is likely to be the biggest event in human history. So it's in that context I'll speak about a future powered by intelligence, both real and artificial. If you navigate the tech world today and look at the technology map, a large number of technologies, new technologies hit us every day. From artificial intelligence to wearables to mixed reality, a number of new changes are affecting each one of us. And all these terms, if you just look at them and you go back 20, 30 years, they don't seem so new because they were there in our science fiction movies. At least when I grew up, I could see many of them in the science fiction movies of those times. And that reality is coming today. And therefore, it's very clear that a lot of the innovations that we speak of as the future are likely to hit us sooner than we expect. In this context, if you just look at the predictions that Gartner made for 2018, for today and beyond, just look at some of these predictions. And I won't go through all 10 of them, but point out to maybe 3 or 4 out of these which seem most relevant. First, artificial intelligence and IoT will be an integral part of our lives. At the same time, trust becomes a very big issue because artificial intelligence is really as good as the data or the learning models that it's built on. So if it's real versus fake. And that's what will define how good or how applicable many of the artificial intelligence models will be going forward. The other statistic that I would just want to point out is on the bottom left. The prediction that already bot development is superseding mobile app development. And that's a very significant shift. Because till some time over the last 5 years, for anything and everything, people would talk about a mobile application. Today the world is shifting. Bots are a reality for us, around us, even to the person who may be talking to us on the other side when we call a call center. Might just be a bot. So the world is changing around us. In this context, if you just look at how is the world changing in the enterprise world, or the world that all of us live in. Quick factoid to note, more than half the companies that existed in the Fortune 500 list in the year 2000 are no longer on that list. The average life expectancy of a Fortune 500 company has gone down dramatically. And that is when, only today, we start talking about the advent of the fourth industrial revolution, which basically means a lot more disruption is coming. A lot more change is coming with the power of digital technologies. It's in that context we need to define what is digital, because the word digital has many, many definitions. And the definition has changed even in the last couple of decades. If you just go back to the year 2000, digital meant having an online presence or just having digitization. That's really digital in the year 2000. About 5 to 7 years back, this term SMAC, social, mobile, analytics, and cloud, became the definition of digital. So anything you wanted to do on the social media, on the mobile platform, doing analytics with data, or being on the cloud was digital. And today, increasingly, it's taking the definition for artificial intelligence. And that's the world that we're moving forward with bots, IoT, and the others. So in this context, what is digital transformation? And digital transformation may vary in terms of definition for all types of companies. Sharad just before me spoke about a definition in the 4 areas. Very similar to that, as we look at digital transformation, it's about 4 audiences and what you do for them. Through digital transformation, you either empower employees, you engage your customers better, you optimize your operations, or you transform your products and services. In the next few minutes, I'd much rather share with you some real-life examples of how each of these 4 levers are being applied by companies around the world. Let me start with the first one, empowering employees. It is really focusing on those 5 broad areas that are listed there to improve the quality of interactions, to support productivity, to connect all employees with their ecosystems, to enable employees to make faster and better decisions, and to drive secure processes. Let's hear it for an example that may be real to many of us.
घर से ऑफिस पहुंचने में 1 घंटा लग जाता है। थोड़ा मेट्रो चेंज करनी है, रिक्शा लेनी है, उसके बाद चांदनी चौक की गलियों में से निकलना है। वैसे तो ऑफिस में हर रोज़ एक स्पेशल डे होता है। आज मेरी प्रेजेंटेशन है, अभी लास्ट मिनट चेंजेस भी हैं उसमें, बट आई कैन मेक द चेंजेस ऑन द गो। हमारा ऑफिस ही देख लीजिए, एक हेरिटेज बिल्डिंग है, कभी एक बेगम का महल हुआ करता था, हम आज उसमें काम कर रहे हैं। For the employees, technology has made the life smoother, tension free. हम बहुत easily आपस में communicate कर रहे हैं। मुझे कोई डॉक्यूमेंट खोलना है, मैंने OneDrive में अपलोड करा हुआ है, I can access it from anywhere. इससे कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता कौन कहाँ पर है, हमारे पास स्काइप है, कॉन्फ्रेंस कर सकते हैं, कोलैबोरेशन इम्प्रूव हो गई है। एक नई टेक्नोलॉजी के साथ जब हम काम करते हैं तो ऐसा लगता है कि हम आगे बढ़कर कुछ कर रहे हैं, एक फ्रेशनेस आती है। काम बैंकिंग में अभी भी वही है, काम करने का तरीका अलग हो गया है, उसी काम को मोर एंथूर के साथ कर रहा है। You can't dream फ्यूचर में क्या हो सकता है। There may be a point in future I can close my eyes, imagine myself in office and I'm in office.
I know Madam Bhattacharya is in the audience, and it was really her vision that got us to work with State Bank of India in transforming the bank. And it's true across the country as many organizations take this leap forward in really empowering employees to do a lot more. The second aspect that, as I mentioned, is engaging more and better with customers. It's really about increasing customer intimacy. It's about creating empowered experiences for customers. It's delivering new value and creating and delivering new solutions. That's really how you engage your customers better. Again, let's take a look at an example from another sector of the economy, healthcare, and how customers there, which is all of us, are getting engaged better.
Pregnancy is probably the most amazing event in the journey of life, not just for parents but the entire family. You need the right support and guidance during these important months, and that's what we ensure. On Cloud9, we share a personal special relationship with every guest, and in doing so, we embark on 9 months of wonder, joy and discovery together. As we started to grow from a single unit to multiple units across the country, the ability to provide the seamless experience across every parent and every touch point was a high priority. And this is where we wanted technology to support our efforts. We used Microsoft CRM as a platform to start onboarding the customer right from their first interaction. This ensures that the entire team which is working in the background can provide the seamless experience that we are known for without the customer really knowing that they've been engaged into a CRM.
Post implementation of CRM, we now know exactly where our guests stand in their pregnancy journey. We are also able to focus on our messaging and marketing campaign more efficiently to give our customer what they want. CRM help us to collate inquiry which we are getting from multiple channels onto one platform. Our team plans their day more efficiently, and this has improved the customer engagement and team productivity.
The CRM provides a roadmap not just for our customers but also for our team. It helps us optimize on opportunities to engage with the customers in person as well as digitally. Whenever a guest enters Cloud9 facilities, our customer relations team gets a trigger by an SMS saying that the guest has arrived, so please ensure you meet them. We couldn't do that before, and Microsoft Dynamics has helped us do that now.
We now want to be able to move away from a simple business requirement to now actually opening up the capability of the CRM in such a way that tomorrow we want to start asking personalized options to the customer. So we are actually thinking on several levels of saying, how does it move from just being a business function to how can it become a completely customer delight function.
So I particularly used 2 examples from the services industries to talk about the empowering employees and engaging customers, because I think in the industrial world we can learn a lot from the services industries as we go down the path of empowering employees and engaging customers. For the next 2 examples, I'll come back to the industrial world and first speak about the operations. How do we optimize operations? Sharad had a very clear ask on operations amongst the first ones of his 4. As to how do you create more efficiency in operations. And that is the first one. How do you convert data into insights? How do you redesign for efficiency? How do you foster a culture that enables these new operations? How do you decrease attacks? Sharad again in the last presentation spoke about it. And finally, increasing agility. And here, it'll be great to see an example, maybe from China, where operations work at a different scale and also came from a very high labor and automation ratio, moving a lot more towards automation and also going towards the power of data in driving operations.
DPMC is our company. We are the world's largest crane manufacturer, and our product going to 97 countries, more than 250 ports. We want to make sure that DPMC can be first-class company. So we want to go digital.
我们原来卖设备变成卖系统，原来我们主要卖硬件，现在将来要卖软件、卖服务。在这个变革的路径中，那么振华作为全球 这个港口制造企业的一个领头羊，一个国际化的公司。我们跟微软公司在这方面的合作，我们创出来我们新的产品、新的服务、新的模式。
Automation terminal is our main product in the future. We can operate a crane in the office with remote control system. It will save a lot of safety issues. It will be very high efficiency. Through our main office in Shanghai, you can monitor all the cranes and help them solve the problem. No need to fly from Shanghai to everywhere.
We're working with Microsoft on IoT and different sensors for data collecting, data analyzing, and data store. This gives us more ability for machine learning. Turn over the traditional way for maintenance crane to a predictable maintenance. We'll be helping our customer to do this maintenance more efficiently. We also want to have more connection with the shipping line. So customers, once they order the crane from the APMC, they will be able to track it online. Also, any user will be able to check online to see where the container is all the way to the final destination.
这个新的产品、新的服务和新的模式，一定会给社会、给客户带来更多的价值。这一点是，我觉得是非常有意义的。
And that brings me to the last of the 4 levers of digital transformation, which is transforming and unlocking value with new products and services. Even before I speak about what this is, I think just to make it real to each one of us, the industry that has seen amongst the biggest transformations and gets talks about the most when it comes to creating new products and services is the automotive industry. And if you just go back to maybe even just 3 decades back, and look at the bill of materials of a car at that point in time, and look at the bill of materials of a car today, many have said today's car is a data center on wheels. And that's what Elon Musk has done with Tesla, and many others are now following that disruptive change in creating the cars of the future, which is not just about the technology in terms of driving them, autonomous driving, but also a lot of the work that happens just like it happens on your phone today with continuous patches and updates that may happen in a car. And I, by the way, had the experience of being on the road, stopping a drive in one of the Teslas, and right after that there was an update of a software patch that came in. So it's just interesting to see how that industry is transforming. So very quickly summarizing here, it is about innovation, which is the thematic of this conference, to deliver differentiation compared to competition, to create completely new revenue streams, and to work to resolve in real time, which was, I think, a question that came earlier in the day. So let's, in this case, take an example from Schneider working with Microsoft globally in the farming sector.
Farming has changed dramatically over the last 20, 30, 40 years. SCADA Farm is a software solution that's been used by farmers in New Zealand. The software servers are connected to the irrigators and to the pumps. It allows us to adjust the amount of water we apply to the land, and it can integrate with the weather forecasts that are coming and make adjustments on the fly to the irrigator. The machine might be saving up to 50% of its allocated water use, and I could contribute that to the efficient use of SCADA Farm. I wouldn't go back without it. Built on Azure IoT, Schneider Electric allows us to collect and analyse the data needed to deliver the insights our customers require to stay competitive. To transform the way we farm, we need a trusted cloud platform that is as global and local as our own industry. And that's why we went with Schneider Electric and Microsoft.
I'm sure a lot of the Schneider folks and partners here would be very happy to see that. And we are really very enthused to have this partnership as we move forward. So pulling this all together, how do these 4 levers of digital transformation really play out in the real world? How do you drive this digital transformation? So on the left side, you see the intelligent cloud and the intelligent edge. And that is the new world that we are moving towards. It's not just about the compute capability that you may have in the cloud, but it's also about all the capability that you may have at the edge and how that really connects with each other in real time. And a lot of those symbols that may not be very visible at the back, but it's really saying in every form of life, there is IoT, there is the intelligent edge. And if you go back to that Gartner prediction, 95% of products going forward will have some form of IoT in them. And to me, that's really the world that's coming with intelligent cloud and intelligent edge. On the right side there is really how it manifests to each one of us. So multi-device, multi-sense, what does it mean? Today, most of the digital transformation that we see is with one form factor in our hands and maybe a couple of the human senses. That's really the sight and the touch. Those are the senses that play out with one form factor. That's where most of the digital transformation is with those mobile app development that I spoke of earlier. Going forward, it's about all the human senses in a two-way format, coming with all forms that you may be, form factors you may be interacting with. So that's the multi-sense, multi-device. The second one is about artificial intelligence. Enough and more is said about it, but this is really what's going to drive a lot of the capability to enhancing human capability and complementing human capability as we drive the digital transformation. And finally, serverless. And that's really driving the fact that when you envision to do something, when you decide to do something, you don't delay yourself with the life cycle of infrastructure build. And that's where having the power of global intelligent cloud available can really drive a lot of speed in driving digital transformation. So you combine these three aspects around multi-device, multi-sense, AI, and serverless with the intelligent cloud and intelligent edge, we'll see a lot more acceleration in digital transformation around us. And finally, to just make it simple in terms of how to do it, we take those 4 levers of digital transformation and convert them into what do you need to do to make it happen. And on the left side, you see those 4 building blocks that typically are required for any organization to drive digital transformation. The first one is a modern workplace, which is affecting each one of us, as it is true that in today's life, work is 24/7. You can access it anywhere, anytime. The second one is around business applications and the multiple layers that sit in an organization to drive its business. The third one is all the apps and infrastructure that is required to run this massive capability. And finally is the world of data and artificial intelligence. And that is where I think a lot of innovation is going to happen as we move forward. To wrap up, I'll close with the Microsoft mission to empower every person and organization on the planet to achieve more. And this mission seems like one of those statements where it is nice to read, but you don't know what it really means for you. And for us in Microsoft, I think over the last 3 years, it's truly defined how we see digital transformation for each one of you and your companies as we go forward. And it is also a reflection on what human ingenuity can do. I'll close with a video on that. Thank you.
Behind every great achievement, every triumph of human progress, you'll find people driven to move the world forward. People finding inspiration where it's least expected. People who lead with their imagination. But in an increasingly complex world, we face new challenges. And sometimes it feels like we've reached our limits. Now, with the help of intelligent technology, we can achieve more. We can access information that empowers us in new ways. We can see things that we didn't see before. And we can stay on top of what matters most. When we have the right tools and AI extends our capabilities, we can tap into even greater potential. Whether it's a life-changing innovation, being the hero for the day, making a difference in someone's future, or breaking down barriers to bring people closer together. Intelligent technology helps you to see more, do more, and be more. And when your ingenuity is amplified, you are unstoppable.
Okay. Happy to take a couple of questions if there are any in the audience.
If anyone has a question, please raise your hand and the mic will be
there.
brought to
You
you.
can get a mic across there.
Giridhar from Hyderabad. Yeah, it was a very interesting presentation. Coming back actually onto the main question actually, how different is Microsoft from this particular AI? Which others are propagating to be little different, and I've been hearing different versions, notions on this. So just clarify on this a little bit.
Sorry, I didn't catch the question clearly, but let me just repeat what I heard. You're asking how is Microsoft artificial intelligence different from other forms of AI that others may be talking about. Is that the question?
Very much.
Okay, great. So artificial intelligence is an absolutely new realm where we are going. And to just clarify between machine learning and artificial intelligence, today a lot of ML is referred to as artificial intelligence. And a lot of the enterprises, startups across the world are finding different applications for AI. I'll take one simple example in India of how AI is different from many of the other models that may have existed in the past. 2 years back, we began a project with one of the eye institutes in India, actually out of Hyderabad, is where we began this project, to really work and figure out how for cataract surgeries you could use the power of artificial intelligence. Because in India, the average time that a patient gets in many of the beyond the tier 1 specialist hospitals in front of a doctor is very, very low. In that small time, the doctor is supposed to understand what's happening, do the diagnosis, and then also help the patient go through the complete process of what the treatment is. And that, if you imagine in the context of an eye surgery, you really need to be absolutely right as you move forward. And that is where we applied artificial intelligence capability to help that medical institute. We are a nation which is blessed with more than 1 billion pairs of eyes. So therefore, AI depends on large pools of data. And therefore, there are lots of eye surgeries that happen in the country. And that's how this journey began. To cut a long story short, today there's a marked improvement in the success rate of those cataract surgeries because the models that were developed based on existing patients and the data that institute had can now help a doctor predict a lot of the diagnoses that they may be trying. So in a way, it helps the doctor making a faster, better judgment on which form of surgery or treatment they may want to take with the patient. So it's really a combination of machine learning, artificial intelligence models with the human capability of the doctor that comes together to create a full solution for the patient. Now take that one institute. It has expanded very quickly in the last 2 years itself to 6 institutes globally because they just said us combining the global data will be even better. So 3 from India, 3 global. And that has now given enough possibilities in the area of healthcare to create completely new models to help doctors. So I'm just giving you one example. It gives you an illustration of where artificial intelligence can take us and make our lives better. There's a question here in the front. And one on the side there. Maybe time for 2.
Hi, Gaurav. I want to know, how do you see digital assistants such as Alexa or Cortana or, let's say, Google Assistant impacting the industry in general?
So you're asking how the digital assistants will back the...
impact?
Impacting the industry in general.
Incentive?
So, at the very simplest form, all the versions that you see of the digital assistants are essentially an interface where you bring a lot of the AI models into play. So rather than focusing on the interface, I'll add one to that list. Microsoft recently launched, about a year back, a native Indian agent called Ruh, Soul. So it's again powering with Indian accents, with Indian languages, and looking at the data points that we have in the country. So to me, that's just a reflection of the front end, of the interactive capability. What's really the power behind them is all the AI models that come into play. And for the industry, I think what's very relevant is to use those constructs that exist for each of these virtual agents and apply them in very specific use cases. So we work with a number of verticals across industries and across companies where we take that capability of unique data models, unique artificial intelligence capabilities, and that may still manifest with a virtual agent that may be still a standard, that you may get used to in terms of the voice and the interaction.
Thank you, Anand. Gentlemen, if you allow me, I will have a one-to-one interaction with you, Anand. That's what you have to do it before giving, because we have the next panel, which is a powerful CEO forum panel, which we want to have it on time. So sorry to have only 2 questions, but I'll share Anand's details, and please ask. So thank you, Anand, for very valid insight into analytics, artificial intelligence, data, and all, and especially application not only in the social sector but in the industrial sector. There's a way to go forward, and I'm sure that we are all committed for taking this India to next step on that way.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. A small token of appreciation for sustainable future. This is a
really appreciate it.
Thank
really
you.
Appreciate
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chaudhary. Thank you so much, Mr. Maheshwari. We look forward to further innovation from Microsoft. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we move to the next section, which promises a spectacular display and demonstration of insights, learnings, and most importantly, experience on what it takes to power the digital economy. To introduce this section, I request Supriya Srinate, editor ET Now, to come up on stage and introduce and invite the stellar panelists. Supriya Srinate, ma'am, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much. Hi, can you hear me? Thanks very much, this invisible voice. Thanks for being a lovely audience so far. I shall call up on stage. We've got a very stellar panel. Not very often do you get a cross-section representation of CEOs like this to talk on digital. Without wasting any time, Ms. Arundhati Bhattacharya, former SBI chairperson. She was the first woman to lead India's largest lender. Ms. Bhattacharya. Mr. Suresh Narayanan, Chairman and Managing Director, Nestle India. Wherever, you can sit here. Mr. Debashish Banerjee, CEO, Reliance Energy. Actually, let's sit here. I'll take that seat towards the end. You can sit here. Yes. Mr. Chris Kumar, CEO, Bridge Data Centers, will give us the perspective from the person who's doing data. And Mr. Anil Chaudhary, Managing Director and Zone President, Schneider Electric India. Thank you very much. So big round of applause before we delve straight into the session. So I have on my panel representation from innovation, from data, from the biggest names in banking, FMCG, energy. And I can't help but ask all of you, and this is going to be a question common to all of you, on what data is really doing to your business. In terms of how differently are you doing business today vis-a-vis how you were doing it 5 years back. And it's only fair I begin with a co-woman panelists on the show and also one of India's most powerful women leaders, Ms. Arundhati Bhattacharya.
Thank you, Supriya.
I was just told by Anant as he was walking off that he's just given the example of SBI. I wasn't in the hall, so probably, you know, the audience already knows how we are doing business differently. But I must say that 5 years back and today, business is very, very different because the use of digital has now permeated every angle. Means it's not only that you're doing it for your customers, but you're doing it for management of in-house resources, you're doing it for the performance management, you are doing it for so many other things. And I think it's something that's quite inevitable. It's something that's sort of overtaken us. We are glad that we have ridden that wave. We have not allowed the wave to swamp us. But the fact remains that today, for instance, if you're looking at engaging with your customers, you have to have a digital platform. If you're looking at ensuring that you're using your resources in a very optimal manner, you have to use a digital platform. Not only that, if you're looking at costs, today, what are the main costs of a service industry? The main costs for a bank are its human resources and its real estate. That's right. Now, both of these, if you're going to make it something that is comparative and that sort of compares well with your peer group, then you have to use digital in these areas. Because otherwise, you will not be able to look at the scaling up of business without equivalent scaling up of human resources. And that is something that you have to do. Otherwise, you will not be competitive at all in your industry. Besides that, I think if you look at today's youth, the new generation, and India especially so, because the 26.5, I think, is the average age of Indians. Right. The current generation actually, I find, is more comfortable interacting on a screen rather than interacting one-on-one. And you can't do that unless you have digital products. So I think, you know, overall, not only the customer's inclination, but also the fact that the way we are doing business has become different. So digital is absolutely part of something that we have to do.
There's a reason why they say if you're not digital, you're dead today. But Suresh, I'll ask you this question on, you know, anecdotally speaking, what has changed in the last 5 years? I mean, as Bhattacharya rightly explained that it's not just your customers that you need to focus on as you go digital, but within the organization and all of that as well. But give me an anecdotal evidence of how different things are due to digital today in the last 5 years.
Well, I can tell you, Supriya, that, you know, for a consumer-facing organization like Nestle, and you know, we are the world's largest food and beverage and nutrition organization with over 2,000 brands. So therefore, our face is and our interest is always with where the consumer is moving. 5-10 years ago, there were 2 or 3 things that has changed, and which is what is making our own behaviors change. Number one, we were earlier looking at gathering consumer insights before we went into the whole marketing process. And that was a fairly elaborate exercise that used to be done using a lot of consumer research, static consumer research, but giving you inputs for what to do and what to launch and what not to launch. Today that has changed. Most of it is on online platforms. You get feedback from consumers on exactly what they want, what they don't want, what they like, what they don't like. So it's a kind of co-marketing platform that today we are working as far as consumers are concerned. Number 2, 5-10 years ago, you were talking about a digital marketing department, right? And you were saying, let's have digital agencies interfacing with companies. And we had a brand marketing or brand management function, marketing function, and a digital marketing function. Today, digital is an essential part, as Mrs. Bhattacharya rightly said. It is an essential part of every marketing instrument and every marketing plan that you do. So there's nothing called digital marketing as far as Nestle is concerned. Digital is embedded in marketing. The challenge that we have is to address and to be able to fulfill the needs and desires of digitally enabled customers and consumers. So that's the second one. Third, in terms of resource allocation, there was a time when digital used to be a tick in the box. That's right. There were 5 boxes starting from television, advertising, press, and everything else, and bottom of the list, because of some CEO to be satisfied or somebody to be told that I am in the new technology age, you used to tick the box. Today, again, thanks to the fact that your consumer base is so highly and so much oriented towards digital platforms, you start with a digital-centric idea and then you try and see how it can have manifestations across the value chain. So to me, it is really chalk and cheese in terms of not only the way to access consumer insights, but also the way in which you run your marketing departments, and in fact, the way in which you access new ideas, new modes of communication, and even resource allocation. 5-10 years ago, the amount of money spent on digital was probably sub 10%, maybe even 5%. Today, on some of my brands, I spend more than a third or maybe even 2/3 of my budget going on digital engagements.
And that's a huge change if your resource allocation goes away. But you touched upon a very important point that digital used to be this one tick in the box earlier. It's now obviously inherent and integral to what you do today. Let me ask you this. You can take my mic. Okay. Mr. Banerjee, digital, many perceive, at least 5 years back, used to be the CIO's function. The CIO would be involved with digital. It was just one tick in the box that would happen. Is today digital at the heart and soul of an organization? It's really the CEO's job to do digital.
Yeah, just to supplement what the other speakers were saying, today's generation is becoming more digital, and they are always communicating on something which is on a screen, whether it's a WhatsApp, whether it's a Facebook, whether it's Twitter and all. Now the point here is that we are an organization which serves a lot of consumers. We serve about 1.2 crore of consumers, and the consumers are becoming very less and less tolerant. Now in Mumbai, where we supply power, we have a 24/7 power supply there. We don't have DJ sets there. Even the buildings don't have any lifts or backups. Now, in such an organization in such a situation where people are becoming so demanding, digital is no more a separate entity or a function like a marketing function. It's a core of the utility. And today, the data has become so important. That means we used to have a consumer data on an ERP system, on an ISU system of SAP ERP. But then somebody used to call the call center, and the call center used to go back to the customer record to understand whether he has a query on a power outage, whether he has a query on a bill and all that, and he had to back end with the system and maybe back end with the outage system of SCADA and all. Today, we find that no consumer is ready to go through that system of press 1, press 2 for this, press 3 for this, and press 4 for that. So we found that the best way to handle this and ensure that the consumers don't stand on a queue in a call center, we have introduced an digital assistant as Electra, and we have trained it to respond on data. It's currently on Facebook and Twitter and WhatsApp. It can respond to the people on any queries on whatever it is. Now, when you look at the other part, the consumers today do not want to queue up to pay the bills. So when the banking system has changed, the mobility platforms have come up. Today, everything has become on the digital platform. The consumers can just open a mobile app of ours or use the dynamic QR code for scanning and paying through any channel, whether it's a UPI-based channel, whether it's a mobile wallet, and the payment can happen online and digital. So today, not only it's a CIO's function, it is the CEO's vision that how to take it forward, how to make his workforce management automated so that they can serve an economy which is a digital economy.
Fair point. Mr. Chaudhary, would you want to supplement this point and give me an example of how digital has not just become the CEO's function, but digital is at the core of how business is going to progress from now on, or how it has actually changed in the last 5 years?
Yeah, no, I think this is very important, and I fully endorse the point shared by my fellow panelists. I think digital is no more a CEO's choice, or that, if it is driven from the top and all, because all the examples which we heard, I mean, it's no more one of those tick points which you have to do it. It's a very integral part of the way of doing business in the present world, in the 21st century. I think it's all about more and more connected people, connected customers, connected employees, and it's also more and more it is becoming about connected machines. Right? This is what we were just sharing in one of the plenary session, that by 2020 we have 30 billion machines which are going to be connected all across, and the amount of, the challenge which that data is going to face, if we are not putting this as the center of our strategy, you're not able to cope with the business. It's not a question of whether you survive or not, but you are not in a business where you are, able to do the business in the 21st century, when the life cycle of the businesses will be very small if you are not able to innovate. So I think going forward, Schneider Electric, that's what we are working on, that all these businesses coming from different segments, different domains, digital is a fundamental core of their business strategy. How we can keep those machines, how we can keep those infrastructure on all the time to ensure the life is on for all of them, everywhere, every moment, and at all the time. And that's where the emphasis for us is more on connected products, connected solutions, connected machines, and using that data to provide a solution which is ensuring safe, reliable, and quality operations for our end customers, for them to create value for that.
Sure enough. Let's get a view from the man who does data. And Chris Kumar, my question to you really is, for the digital journey to be smart and sustainable, one presumes that businesses need to leverage data well. So whether it's data capturing or data analytics or data-driven automation on part of that, how are you seeing that change for businesses?
Yeah, that's a good question, and really should be the heart of all company strategies. So if you think about what's going on today, we've shifted pretty dramatically in the last few years from a linear economy to a circular economy. Circular economy is really about reducing waste in all different forms. And so we're starting to see these asset-light businesses combined with old-world businesses and start to create new ecosystems and new business models. So like an Airbnb or an Uber, smart use of technology, creating a business model really out of ether. And they don't really have any assets to talk about, but a market cap of 80 billion with a very successful revenue stream today and a growing revenue stream from different aspects. So I think at the heart of what we want to think about data being, I love data, by the way. It fuels my business. I wake up every morning loving data. But it is the new oil. And if you don't have the right engine, that oil is useless. There's nothing to burn that oil in. So I think the challenge going into the future is going to be, how do companies, how do individuals take that data and convert it to knowledge? And take that information, convert it to knowledge, and then move to the next plane, which is wisdom, that provides real intuitions into customer insights and figuring out a way to do that where you're using artificial intelligence, you're using big machine learning, but you're gaining insights that are almost converting that artificial intelligence to real-world intelligence. I fear if that doesn't happen, that we'll have nations and a population that's pretty dumb, that actually loses their power of real intelligence because they're so reliant on machines and so reliant on data. So taking that data, converting it to knowledge, and then getting wisdom out of it is the real key to actually a company's successful digital strategy.
And I guess the successful ones are perhaps doing the right thing and are perhaps doing that. But I don't know how many people in this audience have this question. I sometimes come up with this question. I think it's the moot question of this entire thing. What do you define as digital? And Ms. Bhattacharya, if I may ask you, is it digital? Is it data crunching? Is it social platforms? Is it collaboration? I mean, there are times in the day where I wonder, what really is digital?
When we launched the digital drive in SBI, actually one of my biggest challenges was explaining to the people, to my own people, internal customers, what I meant by the digital drive. Because they really didn't have an inkling as to what they were trying to think. And it was all very amorphous, what they were trying to do. They already had internet banking. They had mobile banking. What more is required and what is digital? In fact, that's when, we decided that we'd put up some signature branches in malls in order to show what the branch of the future would look like. And these branches, they were in two parts. One part would be open 24/7, and they had an ATM, a cash deposit machine, a check deposit machine, a passbook printer, a multifunction kiosks. This could be open through the day and night. And then just as you come in, there was an account opening kiosk where if you had your Aadhaar number, you could open your account in 10 minutes. There was a debit card printer where you could personalize and print your debit card in the next 10 minutes. So walk out with the operative account in 20 minutes. And then you had these walls with huge screens where you could play around with loan products. So for instance, you need a car loan. You can say, I need a car loan, or rather, I want to buy a car. And the machine would ask you, do you want a used car or a new car? You specify. They'll ask you, what's your budget? They will show you all of the models within that budget. You specify a model. It will show you what social media is saying about it, what the manufacturer is saying about it, and then it will ask you, do you need a loan? If you say yes, it will ask you 4 or 5 basic questions, tell you how much of loan you can get. So basically then also we had these smart tables that look like a spaceship kind of table, where you had these screens for investment products, and you could specify your dream and it would show you what kind of investments you had. Now, these branches were actually created for our people to come in and play around in order to understand what we were meaning by digital. So digital is not merely internet banking. There is so much more to it. There is data gathering to it. There is analysis to it. There is a lot that you do proactively without the customer ever asking for it. For instance, on a digital platform, you'd never have to requisition a checkbook, which everybody had been doing, because the system understands you have used your 4th last check, dispatches a checkbook to you. So, the whole concept is really, it stood on its head. And for people to really understand what we were talking took quite a bit of time.
That's actually, we often don't realize how much things have changed thanks to digital. And you're right, the last time I think SBI did promptly ask me if I needed a checkbook. But, you're in the consumer-facing business as well. How would you define digital? The way banking has changed, I think digital is, like she says, and I'm glad I'm not the only one who thought of this amorphous concept of digital. But for an FMCG company, what is digital?
Look, Supriya, the way I look at this whole much bandied, much abused term digital, underlying any phenomenon is a process of change. To me, what digital signals is the management of change at 3 levels in business for an organization. Number 1, in terms of what are the activities, what are the processes, what is it that it will do, and what is it that somebody else will do. So therefore, this inward versus outward flow of processes, techniques, and manifestations that bring about the change is one aspect of it. The second aspect of it is that it brings about a whole process of empowerment and change within the organizational structure. You see, we are all used to organization structures which are pyramidal. We have pyramids, starting from the top chairman right down. Digital is forcing us into circular organization structures, where everyone has got an important say, not necessarily an equal say, important say in the way in which things are done. So in areas like, for example, finance, in areas like human resources, in areas like procurement, today you've got self-directed systems that you have your download, you decide on the procurement specifications, you decide on the vendor to go to, you place the order, and you also raise the payment notification for it. I think there's an enormous amount of change within the organization itself that is taking place. And the third element, I think, which is important, is the whole consumer connectivity that we're talking about. 70% of my organization, Nestle, are millennials. And these are guys who are born between 81 and 1996. 97 is Generation Z, which are entering the workforce. I mean, these are youngsters who are 21 years old. They will be coming into the workforce. So I think the whole connectivity with consumers has also changed. To me, digital signals a huge challenge in change management. That is why leadership counts. And secondly, I believe very strongly in the adage, disrupt but do not destroy. Because one of the challenges, especially in consumer goods companies, is everybody thinks that anything legacy is a bad word, right? We say, oh, legacy, this is a legacy system. We are a 150-year-old company, for God's sake. We have a strong legacy. I'm not going to be throwing everything out of the window, all the principles of marketing and branding and quality and everything else, and just say disrupt everything. So I think it is disrupt what needs to be disrupted, but remain with what your core is and don't destroy the core of the organization.
That's a very interesting insight. Disrupt what needs to be disrupted, but don't destroy the heart and soul of an organization. Mr. Chaudhary, if I may ask you, they say digital can also be an extremely punishing medium because at the pace at which things are changing, the CEO needs to constantly strategize. There needs to be constant agility. In that sense, disruption versus destruction, and given the pace of change in a digital world, is it a punishing option?
I may have a different opinion. I think we are in a world where disruption is happening every day. And I'm not sure that when we are doing disruption, for me, it's a step forward, and it's not that something destroyed at all, the way we look from technology point of view. And I think this has to exist like that, because moving forward, the way the technology pace is happening, and we saw that, whatever technology comes today, unless until we are not able to accelerate the pace of applying those technology and then disrupting the same thing which you have done to leapfrog for something else, it's very difficult to keep the pace in most of the segments where, this transformation is happening. And I think even not only talking of segments, even when we talk of the society as a large or countries as a large, and we were hearing some of the speakers at morning, policymakers, that if India would have followed the path which was probably followed for developing nations after the Second World War, I think it's probably not the way to look forward today. Maybe the way to go into development now is, rather than going with the core infrastructure, building big things, that build digital highways and leapfrog on that, and that's where probably we are showing the way as well. And while doing that, it's not necessarily that we're destroying what we are doing. So the point which I'm making is, and not saying that, I think both of these things has to keep on existing. You have to keep on disrupting. You have to keep on adopting new technology. You have to keep on going forward and working on this. And I think what we are also doing is that today, analytics, machine learning and all are becoming integral part of the solutions which we are providing to our customers. Because this is the way probably they can better utilize all their capex, all their investments which you have done, all their assets which they have, than the traditional way of doing it. And that's creating the thing. And this is disrupting probably the normal way of working. But the core infrastructure, the core, the way of building the things, it still remains fundamental, but it is then put with layers which are much more connected, much more digital, and keeps the space of going forward and disrupting the previous thing and making it ready for the next generation to come.
Sure enough. Just for the benefit of the audience, I would like to say, why are we discussing digital? And just to throw a data figure at you, the global digital economy is growing at 2.5 times than the global actual economy. And that kind of gives you a perspective why it's so important to talk digital, understand digital, and perhaps that's the best way to deal with this disruption. But Mr. Banerjee, we were talking about digital being painful. And digital obviously requires you to strategize real time. And which is why my question, punishing. So I think Mr. Chaudhary has made his peace with the fact it's punishing, but there's no other way out. Is this the pace of innovation, the pace of change, can companies match up?
Yeah, today, talking on the point of utilities, the utilities have come to a tripping point. That means a point where if they don't embrace change or they don't lead change, they will be flooded with change. They would be drowned with change. So with that case, I would say the disruption is creative. What happens today, that we, at our place, we are finding that in our base, we are talking that today, we are having a lot of system which is there on our SCADA-based system. We have a system which tells us where the faults are. But today it's not enough to have a preventive method of thinking. We will have to have a predictive method of thinking. So what we have done at our point is we have embraced artificial intelligence. That means we have used data from the field in a structured format, and worked with companies like IBM, like EY, to find out that how can the data predict on an precedence of an oncoming fault or an outage so that consumer is not disturbed at any point of time, right? So in this way, what I feel today, whether it's an infrastructure company or whether it's a utility, he has no other option but to go through it. You may call it a painful transformation or a painless transformation, but everybody's liking it.
I don't think you have a choice whether to like it or not. But Mr. Kumar, like he said, everybody's liking it, everybody is doing it. Are there companies out there, and I can quote some without naming them, who are a little reluctant to digitization because of the data security concerns? They believe, is their data going to stay secure if they go digital? Is that something that you experience?
Well, it's certainly a concern. Security is topmost today on everybody's mind. People that are outsourcing to the cloud, people that are moving productivity applications or even core business systems, and some are. But the pace of adoption is accelerated significantly in the last 4 or 5 years. We're seeing even large banks, large global banks that were reluctant because of regulatory reasons to do it, are now being forced to do it because their resources and in terms of adopting to all the new wave of business processes and the new waves of demands from their customers, they don't have a choice. So we are starting to see them create private IP clouds and clouds that are very secure for their own requirements, but being more nimble in the use of those resources and less wastage in the use of computing resources. So that's clearly happening. There's still a long way to go, as one of the previous speakers was talking about. The number of denial of service attacks has significantly increased globally across all different types of industries. So people are aware of that. They're being sensitive about the type of data they're putting on the cloud. Governments are taking a very forward role in terms of stipulating and regulating where data is stored and the sovereignty of that data. And so that's helping the cause a lot. But there's a long way to go with security, a long way.
Mr. Chaudhary, this whole shared economy model, and everybody believes that's really upon us, that's really upon India, this whole shared economy model, and I'll ask both Mr. Kumar and you to take this question. Is this particularly a boon for an Indian economy? Because unlike the US, it's a more do-it-yourself economy. We are a more enabling, assisting economy, really.
Yeah, no, I think today we had Mr. Amitabh Kant in the session, and he has shared the way the Indian economy is looked at all. I think for sure, I think the way we are looking at the economy, and this is probably a little bit of my personal view, I think the way digital economy is progressing in India, I think we are on a way to leapfrog many of the world leader economies. Maybe we are still not the size point of view there, but in terms of the way countries making strides into getting those 1 billion people starting using digital highway for digital transactions, having the biggest biometric system and all, I think we are on the way. And that creates a lot of challenges for companies like us to come with a lot of innovation, a lot of new solutions and products, where the businesses which are represented here, they are able to really, be working more efficiently, much more connectedly to keep the pace with that. So going forward, I think our economy is going to be very much transforming into a very strong digital economy. Of course, today, the country is looking at 5 trillion plus by 2025 in the GBS. I was there, and we have seen a big debate happening, and there are very, very positive optimism which is there in the industry and in the, I will say, the policy makers of the country and the leaders of the country. And with that kind of economy, with the innovation, digital is going to further accelerate that, and that's what our vision is going forward.
Mr. Kumar, you want to add on to that, the impact of all of this on employment, because obviously India is an assisted economy, unlike the US?
Yeah, I think looking at it from the outside, India's got a fantastic opportunity to create everything as a service, which goes straight to the sharing economy. I think you're seeing that in multiple business models already in the industry today. But I think when it starts to penetrate the FMCG sector, the banking, BFSI sector, when you start to get penetration into those silo-driven type sectors, is when we'll really start to see everything as a service happen. And to me, India's got that great opportunity to create those business models ground up and to share across different industries in using digital strategies to create new products, new services that leverage resources with less wastage. And I think that's what we'll see happen in India going forward.
Ms. Bhattacharya, if I may ask you, does digital also mean more collaboration? There are companies out there who have incubators. There are those that are investing in startups. Does this mean building an ecosystem which is more collaborative?
I think absolutely. Collaboration is the name of the game. Mainly because when you're looking at a digital economy, one of the basic features of this is ability and nimbleness. And very often you'll find that people have solutions and you have the problems. You don't have the time to really go about and build those solutions. So by far the better way is to collaborate with those people. I have the customer, they have the solution. So collaborate together and get to that customer. And I think this is happening. In fact, in SBI, even though we were a public sector organization, we had set aside with the board's consent a 200 crore fund, whereby we decided that we will regularly look at the fintechs, the small ones, and check to see who are coming out with solutions that we need. And then we'd find a model of working with them. So either we could give them seed capital or we could form a JV or some kind of collaboration could be worked out. And we have started, in fact, by the time I left, I think we were already working with 4 such companies. So collaboration is absolutely essential today. Again, it means efficient uses of resources. It means you can get the solution out to your customer faster. So I think going forward, that's exactly the model that we're going to see.
No, that's true. I think banking has seen the most collaboration from the seed capital that you mentioned to startups. But does FMCG also see a similar trend? And do you believe that's imperative for digital to be successful?
Very much, Supriya. I will tell you at 2 levels. I think one is globally, Nestle has got what is called a digital innovation outpost in the Silicon Valley. It's called Henri at Nestle. That's the innovation platform that we have got, where we work with not only the established companies, like the Facebooks and the Googles and the Twitters, but we also work with a number of startup ventures, really looking at technologies for customer engagement, consumer engagement, different practices in digital marketing, etc., etc. We have similarly in India also. We have got our own engagement platforms as Nestle India. And in fact, recently there was this big digital event called The Next Big Thing, where we identified 1 or 2 startups who would be working with us. And as Mrs. Bhattacharya said, I think there is a huge opportunity here to leverage some fantastic ideas that are there within this country. And I think the challenge for companies is to be able to pick the wheat from the chaff, which is really the core essential ideas which can be utilized and which can form platforms for customer and consumer engagement, innovations and various other things. So very much, Supriya, I think this opens up a huge amount of opportunity. I think the whole economy on startups can undergo a sea change if numerous companies get involved in it. As a company, we are committed to it, and I think we have already seen the benefits. I think companies like, for example, Blipar have worked with us on using augmented reality for some of our brands. Similarly, we look at other such companies to involve themselves with the Nestle organization, and we have, as I said, over 2,000 brands globally. There is numerous opportunity there in terms of engagement.
Mr. Banerjee, do you believe there is acceptance from Indian industry that to find solutions, you can't just look within, you have to go out and find them, and which will entail collaboration? Is there greater acceptance of the fact that you can't be finding all solutions within the company, within the organization?
Yeah, you're correct. You see, everybody has its domain expertise. Banking has its domain expertise, FMCG has domain expertise, infrastructure has its domain expertise. So we use that domain expertise, end user knowledge, and we seek upon people or the innovative people like startups Or even like we have collaborated with Google Thais for payment platforms. So why should we develop a payment platform when Paytm has it, when PhonePe has it, when UPI has it, or when Google Thais has it? Similarly, we use WhatsApp as a communication platform with the people who have any problems. So what we are saying, and as I said, for our AI based, we had used IBM Watson and ENY. And from Ola Uber, we did the vehicle tracking system or the fleet crew management system. So it is not our expertise. It is the expertise of somebody else. Like with Schneider, we want to do an ADMS, you know, going downward to the consumer end. Now, or the smart meter, for example. All these are what we want. When somebody already has it, we need to just collaborate with it, co-op with it, and even, as Ms. Bhattacharya was saying, we give them a problem and they develop a solution.
Right.
So from that point of view also, they develop something new for infrastructure or utility kind of.
I want to talk about a topic that's obviously very relevant in India today, and I think a lot of CEOs kind of struggle with that. And Ms. Bhattacharya, you've led India's largest banking institution. One of the key challenges in digital is to reskill employees. There are people who've entered banking many years back. They don't understand what digital is. What has your experience been? How challenging is that one aspect, and how relevant is it also to job creation?
Well, what banking, the changes we are seeing is that when we had entered banks, basically we were doing transactions, okay? Today, more and more, the transactions are being done by the people themselves. So it's all becoming self-service. So if they want to open an account, they can do it from home. If they want to close an account also, they can give an order from home and it can be done somewhere centrally. Similarly, so many other transactions. For instance, earlier people used to come to the bank branches to buy a draft. Now that has totally disappeared. So you want to make a remittance, you make it within 45 seconds from the comfort of your house, 24/7. You don't need to go to a bank. So all of these people who had been taken on in order to do transactions now have to do something value add. And the value add is now they have to become advisors. And again, in India, if you're looking at financial advisory, there's a huge gap. Advisory is available only for people who are high net worth individuals or ultra high net worth individuals. For the mass affluents, there is very little advisory. And yet our people have to slowly get into that advisory if they are still to have something meaningful to do. And that is why, for instance, we in SBI, we opened the Wealth Management Initiative, where we started reskilling our people to tell them how to do advisories for the customers so that they could have a different kind of job. So, you know, it's not only a question of getting them reskilled in being comfortable with the digital platform. Maybe they will have to do a different kind of job altogether, something that is more value added, because what they were doing was something that was very mechanical, which now the machines can do. They are not required to do it anymore. So yes, reskilling is a very, very important part.
You want to add to that, the point on reskilling, the jobs that were relevant 5 years back or even 2 years back aren't relevant today, are not required today. How does that change something for a CEO like you?
Well, I think one of the primary tasks of a CEO, I believe, in today's environment is the management of change, and also the direction of the purpose and values of an organization. I honestly believe that yes, jobs have changed, but I think the task of leadership is to ensure that there is a very clear climate where change is inclusive, where change is not negative towards any particular segment of the population. Because I always believe, and on a lighter note, I mean, I quote this from Sant Kabir. You know, he said once, he said, "Jati na poocho sadhu ki, pooch lijiye gyan, mol karo talwar ka, pada rahendo myan." Don't ask the caste of a sadhu. Ask his knowledge. Forget selling the scabbard when you got the sword to trade with. I don't think people are intrinsically born with a negativity towards any particular aspect of management of change. It's irrespective. It is age neutral, I believe. Within the organization, you can still find people who are older, and I don't know, now the new definition is probably 40 plus, right? The older lot of people who are as conducive to the process of change and embracing new technology as indeed some of the very young people are averse to it. Right. So you do find both. And I think the task of leadership is to embed that change, to ensure that there are very clearly redirection and reskilling programs. Number 3, that there is an acceptance that digital is here to stay, and not to get worried by the word disruption, because disruption almost sounds like death. It isn't as bad as it looks. I think there is the pain and whatever else we do, if you are able to find a right path to navigate it, find the right seeds to fertilize in order to ensure that there is a climate within the organization where the path is put clearly, any form of disruption, digital or otherwise, can happen. The problem is when you don't have it, is when we are running all over the place, trying to redefine ourselves, and sometimes miserably fail at it.
I want you to answer a question. You know, while we are talking about digital, it's very important to point out that this is a green stage and we've got a green digital. So it's obviously a little bit about sustainability as well. Our Indian companies, of course, they're doing a lot to stay relevant and be digital. Are they doing enough to make this a more sustainable environment, the CO2 emission norms? Is enough being done? And what exactly is Schneider doing amidst all of this?
Sure. I think this is at the top of the agenda, sustainable. And as we say that, you know, as we get into more and more digitized world, contrary to the fact the energy consumption is going to be almost double, and we have shown the equation, it's becoming very complex. While energy demand is going more and more high, at the same time you have to reduce your CO2 emissions, and then how to make it sustainable and going forward. This is why I think when we talk about digital technology, it's also about, in addition to bringing the transparency, ease of operation, connected thing, it's all about efficiency. You know, for us, digital is a big thing of efficient, because my colleague Chris presented that, because when we're looking at the sustainable future, especially with respect to energy, with the challenges we have, you have to be energized to remain in this world, right? You have to be connected and you have to be efficient. So these 3 become the fundamental blocks for any digital way forward. And this is where we are working very strongly, that while we are digitizing all those assets, all those operations, all those different way of bringing transparencies and information up, but at the same time we want it to be making more efficient so that we can do almost the same job which we are doing 10 years down the line, probably with energy which is less than that. And this is what is a very, very important challenge and a fundamental way of looking at digital in future. That how you're going to do that in a much more efficient way, where the energy consumption is less, but the work is being done more. And that's the biggest challenge we have.
And that will be at the heart of sustainable digital transformation. You want to add to that? You're in a business that doesn't embrace sustainability.
Yeah, it's a paradoxical question here, because for us, the more the consumption, more the revenue. But then things have changed, and then we have embraced it. To the point is that today we understand that a consumer has become a prosumer. That means he started producing electricity on his solar rooftop. So we have enabled net metering. So whatever he produces and he consumes, he will just have to pay the net part of it. Then we have introduced light emitting diodes in our street lights. We are converting all our street lights to LEDs. We do programs for 5-star AC programs. So our consumption growth, which was about 5%, has come down to 3% and has come down to 1.5% now. So we have to move up the value chain. So we will have to, in the age of distributed energy resource, where everybody is trying to produce, we will have to be part of it. And we have embraced that to the point we have understood that we need to be a kind of a system integrator. You know, we just manufacture the base loads with our plants, which are thermal. We take the peak loads from the renewable solar energies, which is available during the day. And at the same time, we give value-added solutions to the consumers and become a part of that ecosystem so that we both, survive together. So that is how we look at sustainable, and we're doing it day in, day out. And this 12.5 is going to jump to 25% and maybe someday 50%. So the PLF of the plant which we have today, which was at 100%, come down to 84%, 75% may go down to 50-55%. But then we would have other means or resource of generating revenue by adding value to the customer eco chain.
So it's value addition as well. I've got to move to the last round, and I think I'll take quick closing comments from each one of you. And Chris, I'm going to start this round with you. What is the one big change that you are seeing as far as data and digital is concerned? And what is that one big change you will predict a digitally powered India in 2025 to have?
I think using instrumentation to collect information and make sense of that information, we're seeing a lot of that happening now. So I think, very soon I predict policies that governments will have, which will enforce onto banks or enforce onto FMCG companies, that not only must they have a digital strategy, but they've got to report against that the true consumption of energy for every transaction or anything that their consumers are doing. So if a consumer is using the internet to complete a transaction, what would the alternative cost of that transaction have been from an energy perspective to dramatically reduce? And if we look at the cumulative effect of all of this, it's actually making a huge difference to the energy consumption globally. We only talk about a lot of CO2 emissions and a lot of excess use of energy, but no one talks about the amount of energy that's actually being saved by a lot of these alternate methods of transaction. So whether it's e-commerce, not taking an auto rickshaw or a car and going into a shop to buy something versus sitting at home and one click, you're using 2 grams of CO2 to complete that transaction. Big shift, big change. And so I think there'll be more policies, more regulations around reporting to make sure that we are more efficient in the use of this resource that's not endless, the energy resource. And we're starting to see a lot of instrumentation come in a lot of sectors that's actually starting to measure that. And so I predict that will become a big thing going forward.
Okay, that's one big prediction. What's the change that you envisage your sector to have thanks to digital?
Yeah, no, for us, we want to use digital for our bold pledge, which we have taken at Schneider Electric, because this is to make New India energy positive. We want to make sure that whatever technology, whatever solutions which we are bringing into the country, which are based on all our solutions which are connected, digital, the end result, we should be able to do all those jobs which our customers are doing, which all the places where we are putting up the technology, they are being able to manage efficiently. So the 21st century India is energy positive rather than what we have been seeing on that. So that's the way forward we're looking at it.
Mr. Banerjee, your sector and the change that you envisage thanks to digital?
Yeah, for our sector, as I said before, the workforce management automation is very important. Today, I'll give an example, simple example. Suppose a power goes out at your house, something to do with the fuse. Now, previously, the fuseman used to receive a phone call from somebody. Somebody used to call the call center, and then today he receives information on his mobile app, and he gets the distance to travel on the Google map, and he goes and connects the fuse or does some rectifies the power, restores the power, and then he gets a signature on the pad itself, which is something like a delivery by Amazon or Flipkart. So this has been embraced by our people. Now, with the online payment coming up today, we are about over 50% cashless and 35% digital. Our bill payment centers are closing down. What we are saying, those guys will be there, but they will do some other job. They will go up the value chain. So similarly, all those people who are there will be there, but doing some job which is up the learning curve. And in the process, we are it's really a challenge because we are also a company which is about over 9 decades old, and people have changed over the time. But as the technology is embraced, and when these people themselves, we tell our workforce, they are using Ola Uber. In Mumbai, you used to wait for a taxi, yellow, Kali Pili, it will not go. You tell them Andheri, he says not go, I don't go from airport to Andheri, example. Today you have an Ola Uber. So with all the consumers and the people who are using this app, they are also understanding that this ecosystem is going to develop and they are using it themselves, right. online shopping and all. So they have become a part of the system, and they are also embracing it slowly, and we are also gradually, every year we are bringing a change, and we are seeing that everything is online 24/7.
Right. Mr. Narayan, one big prediction for India powered by 2025 and one big change that you see in your sector.
Well, I'll put, I think, 2 big ones that I'm clearly seeing happening. And the first one relates to a few days back, Toys R Us announced bankruptcy. So an iconic toy company was going out of business because children and their parents were buying digital toys more than the traditional toys. So obviously, I think consumer change, and in this, I guess the day 3D printed noodles or Kit Kat or something starts happening, that will start redefining the way in which we look at our business. Number two, if you have to really capitalize on the many Indias within India, the use of analytics and data is probably going to be the single biggest competency that organizations need to build up in order to harness this opportunity. So I think these are the two big changes that I would see that is going to influence India.
Well, let Ms. Bhattacharya have the last word on the panel then. So obviously the one big change that you see in the banking space, and what do you believe is the one big prediction that you would want to make for a digitally powered India by 2025?
Well, the biggest change I think coming from the financial area will be huge financial empowerment on the back of true financial inclusion. Given the kind of access that the digital platforms can provide, you will find people who will then be actually able to access the entire financial system for loans of the right amount, for the right business, at the right time. Not only that, investment needs, insurance needs, all of these needs, the financial needs of people, I think that will start getting fulfilled in the true way. Plus, the delivery of services from the government that is properly targeting the right people for the right services, even that is going to happen. So overall, I think this is going to be something enormously empowering.
Indeed. But on that note, I think we'll wrap up this panel. Thank you very, very much, all of you, for being a wonderful panel right here and giving us the insight into digital India. We've got a cross-section of views from banking to FMCG to energy, from data and from people at Schneider to talk about what digital really means. You can't wish it away. It's upon us, and I think it's best we find out ways to embrace it, not be destroyed, but be prepared for disruption. Thanks very much. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Supriya Srinathji and our eminent panelists, for that extremely engaging and thought-provoking discussion. We request you to please hold the stage for a few more moments. We'd like to invite on stage now Vice President Marketing, Schneider Electric India, Bidisha Nagaraj.
Good evening, everybody. Is this mic'd up? Good evening, everybody. I think you'll have had a long afternoon and a very engaging one, especially this one was very, very enriching. I'm not going to prolong this too much. Just to let you know that, as an extension to this CEO panel discussion and as an instantiation of Schneider Electric's commitment to the digital economy, we partnered with KPMG to actually interview and meet close to 15 CEOs of India across various segments to just get their perspective of what it means towards embracing digital transformation. And I have great pleasure in saying that we have curated a handbook which is going to be launched today, towards this commitment. And I'd like to call upon our Global Chief Marketing Officer, Chris Leong, to please launch this book for us. Can I have the book?
Now we just need the book. Thank you for a very interesting conversation. While we're waiting for the book, I was really intrigued with the part that you talk about disruption. Maybe just one term that I like to use, I would like to call it positive disruption. Because what that simply means is that it creates new opportunities for all with what digital brings. Because I think you're right, sometimes we view the word disruption in a certain way, but the flip side of that is what we call positive disruption. And it's supposed to be doing that for us in driving efficiency, in really unleashing the power of creativity and what the future could be thanks to digitization. And I think that is fascinating and exciting. And the book is here.
Yes. The book is here, so just a little photo opportunity.
I'm going to, over here with...
just to let you
Thank
know.
you. It's really great
In a few
speech.
weeks'
Thank
time,
you.
this
Thank
book
you
is
for
going to be
helping us.
online available. All the content is going to be online available by KPMG and us. So that's all going to be there. And we are going to send each one of you all who have attended the summit today a copy of this book. Thank you very much. I pass it back to the MC to walk us through the last bit of our evening today. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Vidisha Nagaraj. Thank you so much, Chris Leon. Thank you to our eminent panelists. And thank you, of course, to Supriya Srinathe for leading that extremely invigorating discussion. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we have something which is extremely close to the heart of Schneider Electric. Ladies and gentlemen, we have been a witness to innovation at different levels since the morning. Let us move to another kind of innovation, one which is changing lives and positively impacting different sections of our society. To take you all through this different dimension of innovation, I request Ms. Rachna Mukherjee, Chief Human Resource Officer, Schneider Electric India, to come on the stage and take this session forward.
Good evening. It's great pleasure for me to be here speaking to all of you on a topic that is core to the heart of everybody at Schneider. I'm going to talk to you about the genesis and the journey that we've taken till now on this. Diversity and inclusion. Diversity and inclusion is an integral part of whatever we do at Schneider Electric everywhere. It is part of the 6 priorities we have in our people strategy and a very critical part of it. Our ambition is that everywhere, every employee has the opportunity to be valued, to be uniquely valued and find it safe to contribute and give their best. Over the past few years, we have made great progress on this, and this progress has been in the aspects of gender, on generations, on every other aspect like culture, nationality, and more. So, for our ambition to take place and to move forward, we really believe that this contributes to the high performance, which is very closely linked to our customer engagement and employee engagement and the way we contribute to our customers. You see our global chairman and CEO, Jean-Pascal Tricoire. He is personally contributing to this agenda. Diversity and inclusion is absolutely at the top of his agenda. And he is personally contributing by driving the he for she movement of UN women. Our own managing director and country president, Anil Chaudhary, at India, he is driving gender ratio enhancement over the years. In fact, in the last few years, we've increased our women ratio by 4% at India. And not only that, Anil is passionate about the way we drive it in the organization, he is equally and more passionate about the way we drive it at the society. Now, how do we drive this agenda, and particularly for gender diversity and inclusion? We have a multidimensional approach when it comes to gender diversity. And in the last 3 to 4 years, we have worked on it systematically. So, employer branding and creating an awareness around what we do in this direction internally and externally is of great importance to us. He for she movement, and very, very proudly, I would want to share that we are one of the 10 organizations identified by UN Women to drive this agenda. And in the last 2 or 3 years, we have more than 15,000 men in the organization who've committed to contributing to women empowerment and development. And not only in Schneider Electric India, we've also got participation on this from the society. We've partnered with strategic organizations like Raipur, Tech Geek Goddess for Technology, and National HRD Network to drive some of these initiatives for us. In the past few years, we've been hiring more than 40% women in the organization every year, top-notch professional leaders across different segments of the organization. And has it got us to challenge some of our mindsets? Absolutely. We do not hire people only from our industry. We've started hiring people from different industries, which has got us the diversity, the gender balance, and it has also got us some more fresh perspectives in the organization. Another aspect that we focus on is around development. We drive Urja, the Women Leadership Program in India, which builds our leaders to the next level. We also have a global program on this. But for all our managers, we drive awareness around unconscious bias and what are our thought processes that can come in the way of diversity and inclusion, inclusion being as important as the diversity itself. In terms of creating an enabling environment, it was really important for us to think back and look at our policies and processes. We have a global family leave policy which allows every employee to contribute to their family situations by participating in this policy and taking this policy. Almost 3 years back, we refurbished our policies around maternity, paternity, adoption. We have sabbatical policies. We basically realized that women have these 4 stages where they find it very, very challenging to continue with the career. It's around marriage, mobility of spouse, maternity, medical care. We call it the 4M stages. And we created a policies to actually take care of each of them. Now, are our policies only for women? Absolutely not. It is for every employee in the organization, but it does help women across these stages. The most crucial of these aspects has been societal commitment. When we started this journey of societal commitment almost 3 years back, we started with an initiative called Jagriti. You know, we felt that if we have to make a change in the society and create some transformation around the agenda of gender balance, then we need to educate children, both boys and girls, at an impressionable age, and that's primary school. So we started education by our employees, by our leaders, for students of primary school, and we've started teaching them the respect for both genders, empowerment for both genders. Diya is another of our women empowerment and entrepreneurship ventures. This is about getting college graduates to take up careers in architectural ventures, in interior design in partnership with a retail business. And there are many women entrepreneurs who have come up through this initiative. Prerna Awards, and that is why we are here today. We institutionalized these awards in 2015. Empowering other women, breaking the norms, doing something which was assumed to be a male-only arena. These are the areas where we've identified women who've broken the norms and done something completely different, completely entrepreneurial, something that has changed the way people have looked at these opportunities and careers. To take this forward, to begin with, I would like to give you a glimpse of our past awardees of Prerna Awards. And we have a quick video to take you through this. Can we have the video, please? It gives me great pleasure to invite Chris Leong, our global CMO, to be here on the stage with me to give away the awards, Prerna Awards 2018. Very welcome, Chris. Can we have the first awardee, please?
Ladies and gentlemen, our first Prerna awardee is Lakshmi Menon. We request Lakshmi Menon to please come onto the stage. She is the founder of Pure Living, products upcycled, recycled and economized. Founded in 2012, Pure Living offers an eco-friendly alternative to plastic pens and wooden pencils that grow into trees when they are disposed. At the bottom of each pen is buried a seed of the versatile Agastya tree, also known as the hummingbird tree, which holds a special place in Ayurveda for its medicinal properties. The venture has helped empower the elderly and specially abled women paraplegic in the region and uses upcycled paper waste from printing presses to manufacture the pens.
A few words from you.
Thank you so much. It's such an honor to be here and to get an award from such a prestigious company. I'm actually falling short of words. The initiatives that I do, the main reason I have initiated those is because I feel if you are not part of the solution, then by default you are part of the problem. So I was trying to bring in solutions to some of these. The seed pen was because of I wanted to do my bit in my capacity to bring in some change in the plastic menace. And I always think that if we cannot do great things, at least do small things in a great way. So that was
wonderful
the philosophy behind that. And also was doing a project called Wisdom, wherein we engage elderly women who are abandoned and who stays in old age home. We engage them in making wigs for the oil lamps and trying to bring them to mainstream and offer dignity and fun, happiness, etc. in the sunset of their lives. And we had been engaging women for all our initiatives and projects because I feel, if you look at the name of our country itself, India, it has Diya in it, and I feel women are the Diya in India. Thank
Wonderful.
you.
Thank you so much. Congratulations. The next awardee, please.
The next awardee is Nimel Stien Cheng, Vice President of Shakti Foundation Trust. She runs a creche for children of women from low-income groups. Shakti Foundation Trust, founded in 2014, supports working women by providing daycare through its creche for the children of migrant construction workers, domestic helps and others in the low-income group from different parts of Nebsarai and Maidangadi villages in New Delhi. They attempt to prevent child labor, child abuse and child delinquency from the lives of these underprivileged families. Shakti Foundation so far impacted 200 plus families in 3 years and 70 plus children already routed into the mainstream education. We would request you to please say a few words.
Let me hold this.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, all distinguished guests, the Schneider Electric teams, and the Prerna Award jury. Thank you so much. We are so honored. Actually, we are the domestic help empowering us so that we can empower more of these women, which everyone needs. You need, I need, everyone needs the domestic help. And without them, we can't do anything. And nobody is doing anything for them. That is why we have taken a step to look after their children and then educating them, just the basic education. And today, there are 74 children who are going to school. Otherwise, they are going to spend their lives picking up bricks and doing something else, which is very far from learning good things or whatever. Thank you. I am so honored for this prestigious award. And it will encourage us, the Shakti Foundation, and other people to do this good work further ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. Great work. Can we have the next awardee, please?
अगला प्रेरणा अवार्ड जाता है पाबीबेन रबारी जी को। Pabiben Rabari is the founder of one of the first women artisan enterprises in the country. She stands as a true brand ambassador of the colourful Kutch district in Gujarat by promoting the enterprise as a rural business model. Pabiben employs 60 plus women from the tribal community and rural areas of Gujarat who have learnt the embroidery work and who aspire to be on a self-dependent path. Her enterprise provides an option to work from home to these women. Through her innovative art forms and visionary enterprise, Pabiben has helped to change the lives of the Rabari women by ensuring them a good livelihood. Pabiben, अगर कुछ शब्द कहना चाहेंगी आप?
पाबीबेन जी आपके लिए बिल्कुल खोले।
आज के ये कार्यक्रम में उपस्थित सभी गणमान्य मेहमानों, भाइयों और बहनों, गुजरात के कच्छ जिले के एक छोटे से गांव से मुझे यहाँ बुलाकर आप सब ने मेरा जो सम्मान करा है उसके लिए मैं आपकी आभारी हूँ। ये सम्मान सिर्फ मेरी अकेली का सम्मान नहीं है, पर मेरे साथ जुड़ी हुई सभी कारीगर बहनों का सम्मान है। ये सम्मान भारत के गांव और शहरों में रहती हजारों महिलाओं का सम्मान है। महिला पुरुष, लड़का लड़की का भेद मिटाकर अपने बलबूते पर अपनी कहानी खुद बनाती है। मेरी कहानी भी ऐसे संघर्षों से भरी हुई है। बचपन में ही मेरे पिताजी का देहांत हो गया था। उस समय मेरी उम्र 7 साल की थी। सबसे छोटी बहन का जन्म मेरे पिताजी के निधन के बाद हुआ। परिवार में सिर्फ हम 3 बहनें और मेरी विधवा माँ आर्थिक विषमता के कारण में एक रुपये में लोगों के घरों में पानी भरकर अपनी माँ को आर्थिक मदद करती थी। सिर्फ हम 3 बहनों और मेरी विधवा माँ की लोगों के घरों में पानी भरकर आर्थिक मदद करती थी। हमारा कोई भाई नहीं था, सिर्फ 3 बहनों और मेरी माँ की, जिसके कारण लोग हमेशा ताना मारते थे कि आपके घर में अंधेरा छा गया है। उस समय मुझे पता लगा कि हमारा समाज लड़का लड़कियों में कितना भेद रखता है। हर एक घर में लड़कों की महत्व दिया जाता है और उसको ही परिवार का दीपक माना जाता है। लड़का लड़की के इस भेदों को मैं मिटाना चाहती थी। भगवान ने मुझे इस काम में साथ दिया। हमारा रबारी समाज का सदियों से अपने भेड़ बकरियों और ऊंट के साथ अलग अलग जगह घूमता रहता है। लड़कों को शादी के समय दहेज में, लड़कियों को शादी के समय दहेज में अपने हाथ से कढ़ाई करके बहुत सारी चीजें ससुराल ले जानी होती है। लड़कियां बहुत लंबे समय तक दहेज की चीजें बनाती रहती थी, उसके कारण बड़ी उम्र में ससुराल जाती थी। हमारे समाज के बड़े लोगों ने इसके कारण हाथ की कढ़ाई पर प्रतिबंध लगा दिया। हमारे समाज की हजारों लड़कियां के हुनर पर प्रतिबंध लगा दिया गया। अब हम अपनी कला को कैसे प्रदर्शन करें? इस समस्या में मैंने मार्केट से लेस और रिबन लाके एक शॉपिंग बैग बनाया। उसी समय कुछ विदेशी मेहमान कच्छ में आए थे, उनको मेरा बैग बहुत पसंद आया गया और बैग को नाम दिया पाबी बैग। उसी बीच अंजार के भादरोई गांव में मेरी शादी हुई। शादी के कुछ साल तक मैं पाबी बैग बनाकर कुछ संस्थाओं को देती थी और उसके लिए मुझे मजदूरी मिलती थी। मैंने सोचा कि मेरे पास ये कला है, मैं ऐसी बहुत सारी बैग बना सकती हूँ, तो मेरे समाज की और महिलाओं को ये काम में जोड़ सकती हूँ। काफी समय तक सोचने के बाद मैंने अपना बिजनेस शुरू करने का निर्णय करा। सबसे बड़ी दुविधा थी कि बिजनेस का नाम क्या रखे। मेरी ये सोच थी कि जो कारीगर है उनको उनकी पहचान मिलनी चाहिए। 3 महीने सोचने के बाद हमने हमारी ब्रांड का नाम pabiben.com रखने का निर्णय लिया। धीरे धीरे भी महिलाएं हमारी बिजनेस में जुड़ती गई, मार्केट से अच्छे ऑर्डर भी मिलना शुरू हो गए। पहली साल में मैंने 20 लाख का बिजनेस करा। मेरे लिए ये बहुत खुशी की बात थी, क्योंकि एक समय था जब मैं 1 रुपये के लिए लोगों के घरों में पानी भरती थी। आज हमारे गांव में 60 महिलाओं मिलकर बहुत सारी अलग अलग चीजें बनाती है और pabiben.com ब्रांड से विश्व के अलग अलग देशों में बेचते हैं। हमारे गांवों में एक प्रमुख समस्या रहती है, लोगों को रोजगार नहीं मिलता, उसके कारण उनको शहरों की तरफ जाना पड़ता है। गांव टूटते रहते हैं और शहर बड़े बनते जा रहे हैं, जिसके कारण बहुत सारी समस्या पैदा होती है। हमारी यह सोच है कि गांव की महिलाओं को गांव में ही रोजगार मिले, अपने घर परिवार और बच्चों को अच्छे से संभाले और साथ में काम भी करे। काम के लिए शहरों में जाना नहीं पड़ता तो प्रदूषण समस्या नहीं होती, ट्रैफिक का प्रॉब्लम नहीं होता, पर्यावरण को कोई हानि नहीं होती, किसी भी तरह का शोषण या बाल मजदूरी नहीं होती। साथ में काम करने सोच बढ़ती है। 4th कक्षा तक पढ़ने वाली एक सामान्य महिला ने पूरे समाज की सोच को बदल डाला है। जो मानते थे कि परिवार में लड़कों के कारण ही उजाला आता है, आज मैंने मेरे परिवार में, समाज में वो रोशनी फैलाई है जिसकी मुझे खुशी है। आज का अवार्ड मुझे और भी अच्छा काम करने की प्रेरणा देगा। स्नाइडर इलेक्ट्रिक परिवार का बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। जय हिंद, जय भारत।
बहुत बढ़िया। उनका तो यही रह गया।
पाबीबेन जी, हम आपसे रिक्वेस्ट करते हैं कि आप वापस स्टेज पे जाइए एक और फोटोग्राफ के लिए। We also request the other 2 awardees to please go back on stage for another photograph. And we request EVP International Operations, Mr. Luke Rameau, and our MD, Schneider Electric India, Mr. Anil Chaudhary, to also join them on stage for a photograph.
We have the 2 bodyguards at the end of the
Come on.
Once again, hearty congratulations to all Prerna Award winners. You're all an inspiration to all of us. And we take this moment to thank you once again. Schneider Electric is privileged and happy to honor you.